Yeah.
Wait, Mark, before you read it, do you want a protocol on how Julie and I should jump in here?
How what?
What should we say? When Julie and I want to say something, is there a protocol to like make a noise or?
No, you
something?
guys the phone is right near Susan, so just interrupt. It's only you and Julie on the phone, so just interrupt and say,
All right.
you know, hi. We'll know you're there, just like I heard you now.
Okay.
Okay?
Thank you.
I don't harbor any doubts that you'll make your voice heard.
Yeah.
Will she be able to hear the people that are presenting?
Yeah,
We may need to move the phone closer.
we'll
to
move the
people.
phone closer to Cheryl.
That mic, so they could speak in that mic.
Okay. All right. In compliance with the Open Public Meetings Act, 1975, Chapter 231, the notice requirements have been satisfied. Meeting dates for the year are listed in the annual agenda. Copies are sent to the Record, Suburbanite, and Northern Valley Press and posted on the bulletin board. What is he saying?
Oh,
No, use the microphone for people to come up and speak. Just move it over.
And posted on the bulletin board in the lobby of the Municipal Center and Borough website. Omar, when you're back to your chair, just for the record, could you state who's in attendance here and who's physically and who's doing it through the remote teleconferencing call, which we got permission from the state to be able to do today? Yeah, we can take a roll call and just take a roll call and ask them whether they're on site or on the phone.
Councilmember Dayton,
Here, I'm by phone.
Councilmember Grossman,
Here in person.
Councilmember Menon,
here in person.
Councilmember Michaels,
Here in person.
Councilmember O'Connor, Councilmember O'Connor, Councilmember
Here, sorry, I was muting it. I'm here.
Councilmember Park, Mayor Zenna.
He stepped away. And Mayor Zinna here in person. Okay, so tonight we're having budget meetings, and the first one on the agenda is the Planning Board. Cheryl, step up to the microphone. And we're doing, just so everyone's aware for the record, we're doing this in the public hearing room because of the current health conditions. We're trying to keep ourselves separate a little. We've got two council reps on the phone, so it's a little awkward, but we'll get through it. Okay, so Cheryl or Susan, you want to lead us through this?
Okay, so the planning board, I'm sorry, your name?
Cheryl Gaines,
Okay.
I'm the vice chair of the planning board.
Okay, so Cheryl is here to go over the planning board budget with us. And you gave us some requested amounts. And you have the amount in front of you. I think I might have changed maybe legal services and everything else.
All of them.
Oh, all of them are done? Oh, okay. Okay, so let's go through it and see where you think the funding.
The legal services, we asked for 25,000, and the recommended amount was 22,000. Now, we might be okay with this reduction as past budgets had remaining. However, if there's any litigation, that will not cover it. So if somebody decides to sue the board, it won't cover.
So,
our legal fees.
Cheryl, this is Lauren Dayton on my phone.
Hi, Laura.
Are you anticipating? Hi. How are you? I know you saw Broadway closed. Are you anticipating, or have you anticipated the same amount of litigation over the years, or is it anything different this year?
You know what? We never know what's going to happen. We're in a little contentious application right now, as you may be aware.
Yes.
So that's the potential. You know, I'm not saying that that's going to happen, but that's potential.
Okay. Anyone else?
Yeah, I have a question about that. Why, I'm sorry, but
No,
Bruce,
go
have you
ahead.
had it? Why do you, so are we, we're talking about the large application?
Yes.
So you think there is a possibility, or you just
I mean,
like,
there's a possibility.
you never know?
Possibility because there's an attorney representing objectors and.
There's attorneys involved, so it could all go south. Right,
So
okay.
if we, for example, decide to approve the application, we can sue by them or vice versa. I'm
Interesting.
not saying that, it's inevitable at all. Or we could have another year like we had 10 years ago. I don't want to mention
Right.
the applicant, but you're aware of it.
I'm aware of it.
Okay. So, I mean, that's the only thing, yes.
So I see that, the past 3 years, there's 21,000, 19,000, and 16,000.
Right.
Were all of those related to litigation, or were they various legal opinions and things like that?
Well,
for the most part.
It's the whole legal fee.
Right, but I mean, what was the bulk of it? Do you recall,
There
or?
were a few minor litigations.
So most of it was for other non-litigation related matters. So if there's a need for a litigation portion of this of the legal services, would 22,000 cover it based on past practice, past experience, or?
According to Val,
Uh-huh.
that's why she asked for the extra.
For the 25.
In
So,
case of, if it's a small case,
Mhm.
it might cover it.
okay.
The,
Susan, what are you recommending?
Well,
Lauren, go ahead.
well, she's asked me what I'm recommending. I recommended 22,000 based on the actual numbers from the previous 3 years, and also, do you anticipate any litigation at this point?
I'm not.
Like right now, we're almost
No, I
in
mean, there's
April.
nothing that's imminent,
Okay,
but that's
so
a
that's what I would
possibility.
recommend, 22,000.
So what I'm trying to actually, kind of what I was trying to get at is, do we know what the other side of it? Forget about the litigation, but how much we would,
I can't hear Vinu.
how much would we be required if we needed to use for other legal opinions and things like that?
I'm
Well, it
sorry, guys, I
depends.
can't hear.
It depends.
Vanu wanted to know how much outside of litigation would we need to use? And now,
And you're asking outside of litigation?
Yeah, I mean, do we know what other
Are we talking-
things
Yeah,
might be
because
coming up,
Good.
and approximately how much that would be
I mean, without the litigation?
without the litigation?
Yeah, I mean,
Litigation, we won't know.
22,000 should cover it, yes.
No, I'm saying, not including litigation, we don't know what the litigation is gonna be.
Correct.
So the 22,000 would cover the non-litigation side.
Correct.
well, I know.
And then you're asking for the extra 3 because there's the potential for the litigation.
Jeff?
All right, so,
Susan,
Lauren, can you hear me?
go ahead, Jeff.
So the planning board attorney, that's on that line, right?
Correct.
He's got a fee, there's a number of meetings that covers. Do we know if his latest fee proposal went up from prior years?
Did not.
It did not, so that stayed the same. That's actually an important number that held. Okay. Because that's the major legal expense, right?
His fees didn't go up for
Okay,
several years.
correct.
So if we, Susan, if we kept in 22 and something occurred this year where the planning board was facing litigation and they needed additional funds, where does that come from?
well, we would transfer the funds from there, but if you look at previous years, I've taken funding out of planning board because there was excess in there. Not that you're overstating your budget, but it just happened to happen like that. So, I mean, I think that,
I anticipate this will be contentious.
we used, their budget last year was 43,000 and we used 32,000. Actual, the year before was 27, the year before was 25, so I think a recommended budget of what I did was 43,811 is sufficient to carry this budget. If it isn't, then
Jeff,
we'll, we
Adam,
could transfer funds in from another area. That's
You're
what we would
next,
have to do.
Yeah, Adam then.
So
I
if
mean,
there
so
was,
Jeff,
if there
then
was
Adam.
expensive
All right,
litigation.
I'm on this.
If you told me today that you anticipate litigation, but right now
I
you,
can't.
right, so we have to make a judgment call
Okay,
here.
that's fair. Okay, so the next.
Wait, we're still not
Sorry.
off topic yet. Jeff has a question.
I just want to make clear, I mean, I know that we talk about potentials for litigation and it being contentious. Between my years on the zoning board and the planning board, my experience has been that when it's really that contentious, usually it's because there's an objector attorney and there's an applicant attorney, and one of the two don't like it. They usually duke it out and absorb most of the costs, and we're just going, hi, we're here too, which doesn't really tend to cost us a lot of money. It's rare that.
Well, that's good.
Usually those are the ones fighting it out. I mean, without going into detail, the latest zoning board lawsuit, which the zoning board won, it really was between the objector and the applicant, and we just said, here's the law. It did not cost the Board of Adjustments very much money.
Adam?
Following the conversation we had at the last council meeting in consultation with Councilman Grossman, and I just caught up with Councilman Menon as well, I got the feedback that the council asked of me from Joe Burgess for
Right.
the downtown concept project. He actually liked Jeff's idea of, or he agreed with Jeff's idea that for this project, we should do a sort of a joint sub-team with some members of the planning board, some members of the downtown committee, and some members of the council.
Okay.
So the recommendation that we were just talking about is, I think we should put the $50,000 actually in the planning board budget, because this is part of the master plan and everything. So that would be the recommendation that we'd make for this project.
Do it in the
But
planning board.
Adam, did you find out what he's already required to do under his contract?
Yeah, so he shared with us the contract.
We're not on planning yet, are we?
No, this is a whole different.
This is the planner. This is the
No, I know it's the
So,
planner.
so let me
not-
just
yeah.
back up and frame this for
Sorry.
Cheryl, because she wasn't part of this conversation, so,
No, and the planning board knows
Right,
nothing
okay,
about this, just
right.
FYI.
so,
Yes, Jeff.
so,
Except for the chair has been apprised of the last 24 hours.
yeah.
Yeah.
So what's happening is there's some planning concepts that the council would like to push forward, okay? And the question was, should the money be budgeted somehow, wherever, in an administrative budget or somewhere else? Or should it be budgeted in the planning board, which obviously is already doing planning functions? And so the council discussed and agreed that really the planning board should be where the money goes, and then it's all kind of organized in the appropriate manner, and then we have subcommittees made up from 3 different groups of people. So that's the,
But that's aside from.
that's aside from
Yeah.
this. This is, right.
In addition
right,
to it.
Right, okay.
Well-
Councilman Menon.
Jeff was talking about what we may have from the planner to begin with, and whether we actually need the full 50,000 allocation, because they may actually have some.
I didn't hear what was said.
Yeah, so there were 2 things the council asked of me to speak with, at least this, again, this is just for one proposal. 2 questions. The first question was, what's the best organization to do it? And that's where we,
But I don't want to step on your toes, but can we deal with the budget first? And then-
I think we should do that and
Well,
then
this
go to
would
the
be
next.
under
Sure,
planning
absolutely.
services on page
Absolutely.
5.
It's like, this is, honestly, the planning board knows nothing about that.
Other than the
Absolutely.
chair happens to know, but go ahead. So you
Chair,
want to finish your part
and the
first?
council liaison.
Okay.
Absolutely. Please go on, continue with your
Actually have
the
the
Well,
thing.
my
discussion
next,
if
my
you want.
next
Perfect.
If you want to.
line item is for the planner.
It's up to you.
Which doesn't include.
Absolutely. Absolutely, sorry.
So,
Yeah.
the planning services, there were $15,000 requested and 12,000 recommended. And she put in the extra 3,000 to cover additional committee meetings, which, when she looked at it again, she realized that they were budgeted, the committee meetings, but what's not budgeted is joint meetings of the Board of Adjustment and Planning Board, which we usually try to have at least once a year or more. And now, if you're talking about this new project,
I have a question.
Yes.
So the 12,000 is for the planning services, and then you said that she realized the other 3,000 was budgeted elsewhere. Where is the?
It's not budget, in other words, it was included in that $12,000.
Oh, okay, so then
Right,
that's
so-
really what you
so-
need there for that amount.
Right, but she sent me an email.
Okay,
Val
good.
sent me an email.
Okay,
So the open space element is 12,000,
okay.
okay? And she put the additional, which I guess you got the same memo, right? But it did not include attendance at joint board of adjustment and planning board meetings. So she's asking for an additional 1,500 or 1,000.
In
Not
that,
the
in
3,000.
planning services.
Correct.
Okay, so that's up to the governing body. If you want to increase the 12,000 to 13,000 or 13,500.
And what was spent last year?
9,337. So, but she's saying 12,000 is needed for open space element.
Right, because it's something new. It's the open
So
space
you
element.
automatically
Can I
have
make-
to.
The governing body wants us to
She
do
said-
the open
So I,
space.
I guess maybe it would be
So
prudent
can
to
I,
put.
can I say something?
Go ahead, Lauren. Lauren, go ahead, you have the floor.
I don't know if she-
Tell her she has the floor.
The mayor
I've been more
said, go
discussing on
ahead.
the open space elements of the master plan. And just so everyone understands, the open space element is a very detailed thing that includes soil erosion, stormwater runoff. It's gonna look at all of the areas in our town that are eligible for open space, green spaces. It really is very protective for the borough, and I love that the planning board's gonna attack it this year. I'm excited about that, but it's not as simple maybe as the historic plan where there was an overlay. This is like a full-out environmental plan. So it will, the $12,000 I think is warranted here, and if they need more money for the meetings, I'm fine with 13.5.
How much was
Go ahead,
the historic plan element for last year?
I don't know. I can't answer.
Can I interrupt for a sec? Omar, just could you, Councilman Park arrived. Go ahead, Vanessa.
Yeah. So I mean, I was just curious how much of the 9,000, because in previous years, the amount was pretty minimal.
Well, it depends. I don't think it was minimal for every year.
Well, it's just looking at the last 3 years. In 2017, it was 281. In 2018, it was 1,800, and then it went to 9,300 for 2019. So the question is just basically, is it that it was about $9,000 for
I mean,
that?
that's basic, it covers the meetings that they're asked to attend. I think last year we had one extra meeting,
Mhm.
the joint meeting of the Board of Adjustment and Planning Board.
Mhm.
So, maybe-
Yes, Susan, go ahead.
Okay, so I think I agree with Lauren that it probably should go to 13.5 because we're putting 12,000 just for the open space element, and then they would need something else for the other money spent.
Yeah, but every year we do, so we do have one meeting. In the past 3 years, I've been at there's been a joint meeting one time a year.
Because we're doing open space this year.
You want to do more than one.
Probably, yes.
So how
And
many?
If we ask the planner to come to a joint meeting between the council.
It
Board
may
of
take
Adjustment, and
longer.
Planning board, they charge $150 an hour.
Right. So I guess the question is, how many meetings are you envisioning? 2, 3?
At least 2.
Okay. I mean,
So-
I'm fine with.
Adam is gonna
You're fine with it?
consult
I'm fine with the
Bridget.
13.5.
Okay, so it sounds like
That-
everyone's
that
good
might
with the
be a third
13.5. Okay, go ahead, next comment, next
Okay.
question.
Are we done with the planner?
Yes.
Okay.
What did we
Education-
decide?
We-
I'm sorry, what did we decide?
13.5. Lauren.
13.5.
Okay.
See, it's better if you're not here. Education and training, she asked for $932 and $750 was recommended. There was a big remaining balance last year because Valerie didn't attend the New Jersey State League of Municipality Convention because the borough administrator was on medical leave, and she would like to go this year. And then plus we have 3 new planning board members that need training and materials.
Any questions about this?
932 would cover all of that.
With it, Susan?
Was that, what, it doesn't cost really that much to go to league, or how many people, 3?
No, but there are three new
No,
planning board members that need training and materials, and then Valerie to go to the conference.
Yeah, so this covers Valerie, but that covers Valerie and is required, new members of planning board and board of adjustment are mandated to have training.
So do you think 750 is enough?
They're
or
saying
not?
750 isn't enough.
How much should the number
The
be?
932 is.
932? Okay.
That's pretty precise.
That's very precise. You might want to
Okay.
round that up to 950, just to,
So what number are we gonna put there?
pardon me? Either 932 or round it up to 950, whatever you think is,
We'll put the 932.
okay. 932 it is. Okay, anything else, Cheryl?
That's it. I'll be interested to hear about this.
Yes, don't go anywhere, you're part of this. Okay,
Everything else.
Adam, I think you were still in the middle of your thought process there?
So following the last council meeting, the council asked for 2 follow-ups. First one being, or actually the second one being the makeup, and that's the recommendation of having a joint sub-team of members of the planning board, the downtown committee, and the council, say 2 of each. So that's the second question that was asked. And then the first question was, hey, why do we have to have any costs at all? Don't we have a planner on retainer? The answer to that is actually twofold. The first one is that in the contract, which he shared with me, this would be deemed this is a special project, similar to other ones he gave examples of, and it's not part of the contract. Excuse me. So that's the reason why it's a additional cost. And then
I want to see that contract. That does not sound like this should be a special project to look at our actual town.
Sure, you could take a look. The second reason and why I think it's potentially moot is to many members of the council, we're not sure if Burgess is the right planner for us. So even if it was, the goal of this conversation today is to make sure we put money in the budget for this. This is not to approve Burgess, the proposal by Burgess. So I would argue even if it is within his span or not, I think there are a number that believe that we should at least get other proposals as well. And there's no reason why I believe that it's not going to be $5,000. So that's why we want to put the money in the budget.
Yes, Jeff?
All right, so I know I'm tired, but I have pretty good memory for over the course of 2 days, because I was the
Can
one that...
someone move the phone near Jeff? I can't hear him.
All right, can you hear me, Lauren?
I'm trying.
Yeah, there's a limit to our technical ability here.
Maybe if I turn off the volume, maybe I bring it up. See someone?
Lauren, can you hear me better?
Much better, thank you.
All right, so my recollection from the meeting the other night, and really there's 2 parts to this discussion. One is putting it in the budget, which I don't have a problem with. The other part was the omission of the planning board. And my position was basically that it's a planning function, should be the planning board. Now all of a sudden, we're changing the narrative to it's planning board and downtown and council. That was not really what I was raising as an issue. Downtown committee is advisory, that's what we said the other night. This is their advice. We do have a planning board, their function is to plan. If the planning board wants to include members of the downtown committee, I think that would be best left to the planning board. not to a council discussion, how they want to go forward. But the Burgess report, and that's what I was picking up from, said, we will report to the planning board, and that's really how it operates. And I said that my concern was ending up with this multi-headed hydra, and I don't want to necessarily see that direction. We can have this discussion. That's not really part of the budget. That's more of how we're going to do this, more operational, and we can have that discussion. But I don't think that that's how we discuss it at the budget. We can discuss that later.
I'm fine with that. Let's discuss that later.
So just so I'm,
Just because you're putting it as if we agreed to do 2, 2, and 2 kind of thing, and that, I do not recall that ever being agreed to.
Sorry, you asked for what the proposal of Burgess was, and in that conversation, that was
Right.
Burgess's recommendation. But I am totally fine with continuing the conversation as to what is the most effective
Right.
and efficient process to see change and having the budget. But I'm happy to have the conversation.
So I think we're on the same page that we want to see something happen.
Yep.
And have the downtown addressed. I think it's just what route we take to get there.
That's
and
perfect.
we can discuss
That's
that.
not that's not tonight's objective.
That's
Yeah,
not
yeah.
tonight, and that's not
I'm
as
totally
important as
supportive of that.
getting something in there. Now, the only question for Susan becomes, the only question for Susan becomes, we are adding, this is 50,000. We've added another 1,500, we've added a few hundred here and there. At some point, we cannot keep adding, and in fact, somewhere we need to look to cut. And unless we have some suggestions where to cut, I'm going to have, going forward, hard times adding to everything. That's just, look, I've been a fiscal conservative. I am a social liberal, fiscal conservative my whole life. I cannot keep adding and doing this to the taxpayers. So we need some solid suggestions of where we are going to pare this budget before we actually agree ultimately to add anything.
so on that particular side question for a second, do you happen to have a balance of where we are with, we started with X dollars. Are we X plus amount or X minus amount in the operating budget?
I have it in my office.
No, okay, so,
But I can tell you that, I don't know what number, was it 50,000 to add?
Mhm.
There was some numbers that I did today where I took out maybe about 40,000, but I need it elsewhere in the budget from the other ads we've been doing.
because we took
And
out
we
some
were
things,
at
right.
2% levy cap, and we were at 2.4% budget operation. So until we get through the next few meetings, I won't know exactly where we are until I roll up the numbers, and then I can say where we are and what we could do.
Okay, so,
And sorry, just
I mean,
Mr.
I
Mayor.
can make a note and
Good.
say
Right.
for something to be considered after we roll all the numbers.
Yeah,
up.
so I agree with you, Councilman Grossman. My goal is not to go anywhere near above the 2% cap. At our last meeting, I remember we were actually, the council was actually going pretty detailed as to what areas to cut. And the advice was, let's trust Susan. She'll make it work, and then we stop pulling back. I could cut $100,000 of stuff that we just kept saying, let's do it because Susan was going to make sure that we hit the 2% number. So I agree completely that the $50,000 is critical, and I could easily, quickly find for you where we should take the rest out. But my goal is not to make the 50,000 above the 2% number by any stretch.
so I'm going to interject here. It sounds like you're both on the same page.
Yeah.
Okay, fundamentally here. And Susan, you're basically being asked to, put the yellow sticky on this page. We know what an approximate number is, not that the council has voted on it, but we know what an approximate number is. And this is one of these items we need to see. When you roll it up, are we plus or minus from the original budget number? And then the council can decide where they're going to trim.
But again, I want to, there's tons of things.
And that's
There's no
fine.
special
That's-
yellow sticky on this one versus
Right.
anything else.
This is
Every single thing
right.
that we've done is a yellow sticky. until
Understood,
we-
understood.
So,
Yeah.
Go ahead, Susan.
Okay, so Adam, what'll
Make sense?
happen after we get through all the budget
Yeah, you know you're
meetings,
next.
just so you know, I will be giving this, the whole
I'll
budget
get
to
her
the
after
auditors.
that.
They've already been asking for it by Tuesday. On Tuesday, they will make additional changes. And then after that point, as long as you don't have too many things to add.
Okay, when are you going to do your roll-up? You'll have you'll have everything after this tonight.
I'll do it on Tuesday.
Okay.
Tuesday. So,
Well, you and I
Is it
also have tomorrow to work on
$50,000?
this.
Yes. But again, because it really is important to me, this is not if we have money at the end when the auditor's there, this is equal to every single operating expense that we've done so far. So
Yeah,
this is
we
no
can-
different than every single thing that we looked at. The extra $3,000 for the legal, the extra $250 for the education, I'm just using those two because those are the two that we just spoke about, are as yellow, arguably if not more yellow, than this 50,000 here.
Okay, Vanu?
Can I offer a compromise here? Hello?
Yeah,
Go.
I think we're all in agreement,
Yeah.
but go ahead.
Oh, are we putting this in? Is
No,
that?
no, we're,
No.
we're,
It's very hard to do this by phone.
so, no, let me explain, so what we're doing is, everyone here is in agreement conceptually. Now, Susan has to roll up numbers to see exactly where we're going to be, and then we can revisit this line item after other things are looked at. And then Vanu has a question.
But you realize that is
Yeah,
not
yeah.
what I'm saying.
I understand what you're saying, but from, Sue, wait a minute, let me finish. From Susan's organizational point of the budget, right, there's multiple things happening here at once, and we're all agreeing on the same thing, but she's the one who actually has to give us a sense of whether we're above or below that number.
Okay,
That's
but,
all.
But again, last time, and then I'll stop. So the same thing. So we're not, and again, I'm just using this as an example now because we're talking about it. So I am not supportive of the extra $3,000 for the legal, the extra $2,000 for the planner, the extra $230 for education.
Okay.
Those are optional as well, in addition to, I don't know, we did the police last time. We put in 3 cars for the police. That is optional also. The floor that we
Right.
did on the TVAC, that is optional also.
Understood.
I just want to correct you.
Yeah.
We didn't put in 3.
Right, but
We put in
1.5.
that's fine. Okay, but this is, let's move past the planning board. Let's have comments on the planning board budget and not the whole entirety of the budget. I mean, we can talk about the HR person that we've budgeted for and whether it's prorated properly. We can have that conversation offline. Right, so we've got to do work like that still, where we're going to
Yeah,
find money,
yeah,
but.
I don't know if we have the money for
okay.
the HR rep.
Vanu, question.
Well, actually, just 2 observations. One is that, when there were other things that were brought into the budget as new items, there was some hesitation on including them because it was a new item. This is also a new item, and I just need to remind the board that we're the council, sorry, mayor and council, that we're looking at a new item, and I'm in support of it, but I'm just making sure that everybody is aware that we had other new items which were being considered, and there was a criticism that it was a new item being brought in. So that's.
That's up in the phone, I can't hear you.
Yeah.
All right, so,
We're doing as best we can.
yeah,
Warren.
all right.
But Councilman, you have to keep voice up for her to hear.
I'm trying to
I know,
talk
it's
into
hard.
the
It's hard.
microphone, and
It's
you know,
hard, all right.
it-
You,
And the other thing, I would like to remind everyone is, it's not one person cutting items. That one person can propose items, but it's a collaborative process. So even if one person says, cut X, that doesn't mean that X gets cut or X gets added. So we need to, keep drilling that home as well.
everything gets voted on.
Everything gets voted
Yes,
on.
Susan.
Is this 50,000 under planning services?
Okay, let's not even have that be,
I need to know.
so put it under planning
Yes.
services. Yeah, that's where it would be.
Okay.
Okay. Lauren, did you have a closing comment? Then we're going to be done with planning board.
Should we vote on it?
I did. I
Vote on what?
On putting it
I
in.
also want to say how important having a look like Adam is recommending. I think this is a very important item. I agree with Adam. I would like to review the contract and see if we can get this done under the terms as is, with nothing but so
Sure,
that
let's
it's
vote
done.
on it.
That has to be a must, if somebody can please send me that. But if it's not in the contract, then I would prefer maybe to do an RFQ for another, for a
Yeah,
different.
we're on the same page, Warren.
Okay. Cheryl, okay, so we're done with the planning board budget? We're done with the planning board budget. Thank you, Cheryl, very much. Appreciate it. Okay, next, we're going to the building department.
Thank you, you too.
Thank you.
See you
Hello.
at the next meeting whenever we have that, Cheryl.
Bob, how you doing?
Hi, Bob.
Thanks for coming in this evening and your patience. You've only got 12 minutes. Don't be disappointed if we don't give you 30, all right? Okay.
I'd like to talk about the employment, the employees.
We're on the building budget, building department.
I want to talk about the employees in the building department.
What's your question? In terms of the budget, which page?
Well, we have some vacancies and people have moved positions, so I want to just run through it while we can, really quick.
All right, so why don't we let Bob take us through the budget as it is, when we get to the employee part, we'll talk about the employees. Does that make sense for everyone? Okay. Susan, you want to start? You want Bob to start?
Bob can start.
Go ahead, Bob.
As far as I'm concerned, with the three departments, the numbers that Susan has given me back are fine. We can do it in the following budget year.
Let's see what I did. Yeah, I mean, your budget isn't really that big. I just took it down a little bit because the education and training, I wasn't sure if you utilized that number as much as you should have.
Does anyone have questions on this budget other than Lauren? Okay, Lauren?
He doesn't
Go ahead,
really-
wait, hold on, Vanu had his hand up first.
There's just the BP MIA meetings. There are various. And just how many approximately are there? And
What page
there's
you
no
on?
cost involved. This is on the training, conference and training page.
BGMIA meeting, there's 10 of them, and there's 4 of us that are members.
10 meetings approximately and 4 inspectors. Okay. Oh, so that's the 1150 approximately. Yeah. For the expenses. Okay. Yeah, that's what it shows.
Okay, Lauren, your question?
So that one was at page 10. So we're down in admin here, because Donna left, and we're down code enforcement officer.
Budget.
Just to, full-time, or full-time? Not really sure.
Yes, Raisha is now full-time.
Raisha went to Donna's position once Donna retired.
I'm sorry, I can't hear Lizette, I apologize.
Raisha moved up to cover Donna's position when Donna retired. And then on page 10, the name Daniel McEldowney, he took over for Raisha as the part-time code enforcement officer. So the vacancies
I
and,
can't hear a single word of that. I know that you moved positions, I'm assuming that's what you're telling me.
yeah, so the vacancies have been filled in the building department. There are no vacant positions.
What about Donna's position?
Raisha took that position. She became a technical assistant and assumed that position.
Are you looking to fill any vacancies here?
No.
No, okay. That was really my question.
Does anyone have any other questions for Bob in the building department? Bob, is there anything you want to say? Are you happy with the results of this discussion?
I'm happy with the results.
Okay, well, thank you for coming in. We appreciate it. Wait. Okay, one more question. Go ahead, Lauren.
I'm sorry, the vehicle on the Capitol?
Oh, yes, I agree.
Okay. That's to replace one of our 10-year-old cars.
You kept that in. I'd like to take that and see if we can utilize another, either a green car or something else that we already have from maybe the police department. Is that possible?
Now, the mileage and wear and tear on police cars probably more than what my cars have at this point.
Well, my car's 16 years old, and it's running, so I'm not looking to replace cars in this budget, it's just really tight right now, and how does everyone else feel?
Banu has a question. Go ahead, Banu.
So, not even a question, but I actually have the suggestion that instead of replacing a car where there's cost and there's maintenance and everything, gas involved, I might recommend that the inspectors use their own cars, and we just pay them the mileage for it. They drive probably about maybe 10 miles a day or something like that, and it's not like they're going to be using the car, a lot. So, I think the cost of it coming down to 54 cents or whatever it is a mile would make more sense than buying a car.
Susan, Susan.
There might be an issue with liability with that, just so you know. Insurance liability, if you use your own vehicle.
But I think if you use your own vehicle when you're doing it on, and you're taking a business expense for it, and you're being reimbursed by the borough or an organization, you are, so I mean, they should look into whether there's an additional cost from the insurance. But we would have to pay insurance on a vehicle anyway. We can, that 54 cents really is supposed to cover that as well.
Could I ask a question?
Find that out, because I know I've worked in other boroughs where they didn't want us to use our own vehicles to even go to the bank. Just letting you know.
What's the mileage on the current vehicle you want to replace?
It's all in 10 years old.
46,581.
Okay.
I'm guessing.
You're guessing?
Yeah, no,
That's what the number.
Oh, it's 46,000. Okay. Questions?
I wanted to think, I think that if Susan could look into the issue regarding the insurance, because I have to say, as a teacher, when we go to conferences, we use our own cars, we get the 54 cents on the mile, so I don't think it's an issue.
Well, when you go to a conference, but I think there is an issue, because I know they.
Okay, now's the time to state it. Go ahead.
I don't know what it is, but I know
It's a
that they
big
have
savings.
a car that they actually purchased just to do these type of things. Go to the bank, go here, and then the auditors told us not to use our own vehicles to have a police escort for other reasons too, but I think that there could be an issue. I'm not positive.
Okay, so can you
look
check
into
with the
that.
insurance company?
There are
Adam?
some other issues with this, because it's more than 54 cents cost for inspector. Besides the insurance, the wear and tear, it's a lot more than the 54 cents. The insurance will override this. What happens when the inspector's car goes into the shop?
No, the 54 cents is what the government, and it's usually actually much more generous than, right. But it's generally more, generous than the cost of using the car for anybody. This is for business purposes or anything. The 54 cents is usually a lot more generous than the cost of the gas and maintenance. and all that.
There's a couple of questions. You're driving 46,000. How old is this car? 10 years, so that's about 4.5, you're driving 4,500 miles a year. So just round up, forget 54 cents, let's call it 50. That means $2,300 a year. Can you buy a car for $2,300 a year or lease one?
I don't think so.
So the question becomes, can the inspectors afford to do this on what we're paying them to do it? Because of the low mileage they're driving. That's the question you have to ask.
But the car needs to be replaced with such low mileage, it doesn't have mechanical issues.
That's a separate question.
And we could look at to Councilwoman Dayton's point, so there are a number of police cars that they're looking to transfer around because they keep moving them. They have a 2011 Impala, I don't know.
Okay, Susan, I'm going to recommend two things here, and then Dan. Well, Dan, why don't you go first before my recommendation?
So, if we do get a car in this line, do you need to be the Ford Escape? Does it have to be the small SUV? Can it be an all-electric car? A sedan?
It could be an all-electric.
Sedan.
No, a sedan can be on
The
Capitol.
ones we have that are hybrids, they cost more than a regular car.
Keep in mind, everyone, regular sedans have to go in the operating budget, not the capital budget. Did you get the answer to your question, Dan?
Yep.
So my recommendation is, if the council chooses, is Susan will look into the insurance and the economic issues behind it. And Lizette, why don't you look into the operational issues of if that can make sense, okay?
Okay, I'll
And then
work with Susan.
we'll report back to the council.
But also the need for replacing
And the need
it.
for, and do you really need a car? Can we use an old police car?
Or no, or use the current car.
Okay, so we'll do some homework on that.
And or vice versa, can this car go to another department?
And can this car go to another department? So we have some homework on this. Any other questions for Bob?
I'd also like to point out that this car is used by other departments. It's not just.
Who else uses the car?
Tax assessor uses it when he needs transportation. They go out and do their inspections. They use my car.
Okay, so Susan, your homework assignment just went up a little bit, right? Okay, thank you for that piece. And does anyone else use it?
One more question.
Sure, go ahead.
The overtime on page 7.
That was, the overtime on page 7, I believe, is the zoning board, and that's for extra meetings, if they're packed.
But there's no actual here? Can somebody tell me if we've ever used overtime?
Not in the last couple of years.
Okay.
Okay, any other questions on the, Susan, go ahead.
Taking out the capital, is that the consensus here?
It sounds like it, yep. We have some homework to do.
There you go, Adam.
Okay, Bob, thank you very much. Being no other questions, I appreciate your time and being here at this hour.
Thank you, Bob.
Thank you, Bob.
Right back on schedule.
We're right back on schedule.
Fire expenses are doing it today.
Alden, how are you? Come on up and join us, please. Alden, so that you know, Councilwoman Dayton is joining us by conference call on the phone. Okay. You're welcome to sit down.
I came, Lauren.
Julie's here.
I couldn't do the phone thing.
Okay. Alden, do you want to take us through this, or Susan, how would you both prefer?
Let's see. Just making a note.
Any issues here, Susan, that you want to point out?
I have to turn to the page. Okay, so Alden, let me see if I made any changes to your requested amounts.
Actually went up about $1,500.
Yeah, I did go up somewhere.
Down, I think, $1,000.
Oh, no, I think, well, from last year, yeah, but,
Just one side note.
Go ahead.
Separately. Rutgers canceled all UCC classes
Okay, so tell us about that, yeah.
this afternoon. Everything that is a face-to-face class that we would have to take for upgrade our licenses have been canceled, including building safety conference next month.
So how does that affect the effort you do?
Bob and I and his people, that's going to affect us. We don't know yet how.
Okay,
The few online courses are still being presented, but they're very few and minimal. Building safety conference, supposedly they're looking at having it sometime in the fall instead of next month.
so does that result in any licensing issues or training issues that create a problem for us?
It shouldn't, because they're going to have to take and compensate us.
Of course.
Like, I need one multiple dwelling license, one multiple dwelling course for my license, which I would have picked up at building safety next month. It's not gonna be there, so I don't know how they're gonna do it. My licenses, both UCC and DFS get renewed at the end of July. So they have time, but they're probably gonna have to make some compensations for it.
So what I'm just going to ask about that. Let me just ask this question, Dan, then you. So the multiple dwelling license, if you don't have that, do we contract out from another borough to help us out, or how do we address that?
Actually, I don't think the multiple dwelling license is really used here.
Okay, in Tenafly, you
It's
mean?
part of my
Right, sure.
certification. We should get somebody from another town, I'm not sure. Probably, yes, we could get somebody to come in and fill in.
In case it had to happen, right?
Basically, the multiple dwelling inspections don't get done here by me, it gets done by hotel, motel, and multiple dwelling from the state.
Oh, okay. So we have something to fall back on.
Yes.
Okay.
But I
So,
just wanted to let you know.
no, that's good, we know.
That's,
Right.
apparently that's the way things are gonna go. They're gonna cancel all the stuff. I
Okay.
haven't had any information about Division of Fire Safety, which is out of Keene College, whether they're canceling those courses or not. That's going.
While we're on this topic, Dan, if you can just indulge me for a second, is there anything about, what's going on with coronavirus, et cetera, affecting any of the health and life and safety inspections or that process? Is there anything that's interfering with that you can see?
Nothing from state trickling down to us.
Yeah,
My inspectors, one of them scheduled to do a large facility, educational facility, and he's going to try to hold off and see. They may be closing and
Okay.
cleaning, at which time then he will go in and do it at that time.
okay, all right, okay. So please, on the health and safety issues, if something happens that's unexpected because of this, just let us know so that we can do what we can to help. Dan?
Do these licenses or certifications have expiration dates that you're worried about in the
Yes.
next few months? And
Basically, they run on a 3-year cycle.
this is the third
In
year.
my case, both, I'm lucky, both Division of Fire Safety and Division of Code and Standards, those license and certification come up at the end of July.
So a few months, okay.
Some, they vary, some of them are, I think they vary by about 3 months. Some are in September or October, and then back in January. Not everybody in the state is updated at the same time.
Vanu was next, then Susan?
Just a sort of a general question, and I'm not sure what the answer is, and, I don't know if you know. But is this something that,
He's in the middle of speaking. Yes.
so is this something that we can do as like a shared service with another town or something like that? Or is this something that we can only do?
Can always do shared services.
Mhm.
Towns I've seen it happen with. On a temporary basis, you can always have somebody fill in if there's a problem, okay? Very often we do in a conflict of interest, such as I might, under building, have subcode come in and have to do an inspection on your property. I can't do that, because you have authority over me, so we would get somebody from another town to come do it.
So the problem with that is scheduling. It's a nightmare.
Yes.
It's very very hard.
Okay, so basically, it's a problem but if we had, like, if we had 5 people in one town and 5 people in another town, combining them into a force of 7 people.
Scheduling would still be tough because it's currently tough at 5.
Okay, got it.
Yeah.
Susan?
No, I was just looking at the education and training. So are you the only one getting this, do you call them CEUs too?
Every
Like ours are
inspector-
called, no, I mean, mine are called CEUs, are your CEUs too?
Yes.
Okay, so, are, when I added up the sheets, I was just double
Okay.
checking it, it came to like 3,000, I don't know if anybody else gets credits in your department, or is it just you?
That's just for those classes that I would go to.
Right,
All the inspectors have to get the CEUs.
okay,
It's about, I think I have to get 9 every 3-year cycle.
okay. So
Some
everybody's,
administrative and some technical, okay? But those were the conferences that I was going to. Now, the building safety, that's probably still gonna happen, but it's going to be sometime in the future. The one in there, the IAAI, the arson investigator, conference, that I went to last week.
because I was looking, it's like 4,900, I think your education training was 3, that's why I was asking, are other inspectors going to these classes too?
They go to other classes, basically they get reimbursed by other towns,
Oh, okay.
okay? If you notice in there, I leave League of Municipalities.
Mm-hmm.
Let's do it here. League of Municipalities. If you notice, there's no registration fee, and basically it only comes out like $94. That's because League of Municipalities has to do with my zoning officer's license, which is not used in Tenafly, it's used in Alpine, so Alpine's paying for it. But I just put down that I know I will be going there.
Sorry, Jeff, yes.
Just, Susan?
Yes,
I'm getting actually a message from Councilwoman Dayton. She is not able to hear. So if when we have someone who's clearly speaking a little softer, if you can just summarize quickly what they're saying, because you're the nearest one to the phone,
okay, that's fine.
that way.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay, so Lauren?
Oh,
Jeff,
got knocked off.
I'm gonna summarize when any of the council members speak.
Or
So that you
our
can hear, if
witnesses.
you don't hear them, okay?
You're the only one I can hear. I haven't heard a single thing.
I think it got knocked off the speaker though.
Okay,
I think it's
but,
because you took the phone off the hook
oh.
without the speaker.
yeah, I
Yeah.
thought it was on.
It's okay.
Okay,
Can
keep
the-
moving along.
Can I,
Okay,
Julie, go ahead.
yeah, can I just ask, going back to Councilman Manon's statement about shared services, and I know you said it's difficult scheduling wise, but in theory, if we were sharing the services with different towns, then, so if I'm hearing correctly, then different towns could pay for different trainings, and, right? I mean, that would be the idea of one town pay for one conference, the other town pay for the other conference? Because, I mean, it's a rather large budget, and I just didn't know how that works.
Well, if you're going to, so sharing services typically doesn't involve the concept of paying for individual specific training, right? And, you know, typically sharing services about job functions. So if we were to share, let's say, a fire inspector with Cresskill, and we're each paying, let's say we hire a fire inspector and we're training them, or they've worked here for a long time, and then we decide to start sharing with Cresskill. Perhaps in the future, they would pay 50% of the training going forward. But we don't get into shared services agreements specifically just to pay for, share the training costs.
But it would be, let's say, from what's appropriated here, 170,000, it could go, holistically, it could go down to half that, right?
Sure, if we shared 50% of the expenses with another borough, absolutely.
Okay.
Okay. You know, could I, no, I don't want to get off track. Go ahead, Alden, go ahead. I'm going to have another comment to make, though.
Budget basically, as I see it, is $1,000 less than last year total. So it's basically the same. I have no problem with that. Okay? What I do maybe get into something here that Susan is probably gonna have to work on, is a car. I'd like to replace the one car that we have, the Crown Victoria, that is a,
This car compared to the last, is vastly different.
She's gonna be supportive of it, sorry about it. Keep going.
okay, because it's, like I said, it's in 1998, I spent $2,300 in change maintaining it last year. And that's a lot of money to put into a car, that old. It's 22 years old. So I would like to see that replaced. I've asked a number of times and that hasn't happened. What I did put in for, not a Crown Vic because they're no longer made, Australia stopped building them. That's where they were coming from. But put in a police, Ford Escape, police SUV, because it goes under capital instead of regular budget.
Adam had a question?
You know, I would just take a look at the other point. I think there are moving around a number of other cars from the police budget. They have their overtime cars that are, there's a 2011 or there's other ones. I would see let's just see what we have in the rest of the system.
Okay, you know, Susan, can I ask you a financial question here?
Sure.
So the Crown Victoria has how many miles on it?
101,000,
And it's how old?
22 years,
So 22, so 5,000 miles a year. So the first thing that comes to my mind, if we're running up 5,000 miles a year, why aren't we leasing a car for 3 years with a $15,000 mileage on it, and every 3 years, we get rid of the car and have no repair costs in the long term, and always have basically a new car here? Because none of our cars are high mileage cars where it would cost us a fortune to buy them off lease. And I think that, you know, not necessarily that's gonna get accomplished for this particular go-around, but that's something to consider.
So, well, you would only be able to put, like you said, an SUV in the capital,
Well,
otherwise it has to go and operate. But yes, and there is, some, lease, vendors calling me up to try to get us to do leasing, and with the AAA bond rating, we would probably get a very good deal. Because Lizette and I already went to the county, and they can help us with leasing, but we don't need them, because we already have a AAA.
I understand you, but
So, yeah, we can.
It's a
look
great
into-
mathematical exercise that we should do.
yeah.
Yeah.
When you do have a car though, like this car, which obviously we should have, you know, with all due respect, gotten rid of a couple of years ago, at least a couple. You know, if you do keep a car long enough, and it's not in bad mileage, but long enough, it is usually better to buy the car, but I think it is a great use of just a mathematical exercise to see what you could get for a lease. Assume that the average car in town lasts 10 years and see what happens.
Right, and do the math, and throw in the cost of all the repairs to,
Do you want, now,
sure, hold on, Susan has the floor first, then Lauren,
so
please.
would you like me to find out how quickly we can get a leasing program, like maybe to call tomorrow someone, and I need to know what kind of vehicle and things like that, so that I can determine it, and then when I'm rolling up all the numbers, we can.
Assume the same vehicle that Alden has requested.
No,
Well, no, you can't get those anymore. They
No,
come
but he
with-
No, he
requested-
mentioned a Ford Escape.
No.
I didn't hear
I got
you.
the
Okay, which
state
one is it?
contract for the Ford Escape Police Interceptor.
So if we do a state contract, I don't know.
No, state contract is to purchase.
Right.
We don't want to purchase.
What you should do is take the specs and call the leasing company to see if they have the same vehicle or an equivalent.
And what it'll cost us.
And
I have
how
that,
much?
I have that, right?
What?
Hybrid.
Or a hybrid.
Yes, I gave it to you.
Or a
Yeah, it's in
hybrid.
your folder, my
All right,
medicine.
so let's
Okay.
move on past the car. Lauren, you had a question?
Wait.
Yeah, it's your turn.
You know, we had talked, Dan and I had insisted a couple years ago to try to move to these green cars under state contract. Why aren't we looking for the energy efficient cars here?
We just said that.
Yeah, that was just suggested.
I would have no problem with that being done. The last year, I went through, because Lauren had suggested that, I went through, got all sorts of quotes from everybody, spent, I'm gonna say, at least a week, maybe a week and a half, go, because it's At that time, it was not on a state bid. You had to go talk to each individual dealer, and then nothing came of it. I got no
Okay,
car at
well,
all.
thank you for those efforts.
So I didn't go that route this time.
Okay.
I just went the route of the same way I did it, 3-4 years ago to get the police interceptor, because that was on state bid and would be on the, be on capital instead of out of the local budget.
Okay. Any more questions for Alden? Alden, do you have any other comments you'd like to make, or you're good?
Yeah, I sort of have one.
It's always the last comment that gets us in
At
trouble.
the budget when I was going through this, and to me, there was something that was missing and then I realized from when I used to work with UNIVAC with the budget for 30 years and for my father's own company, that what is presented here tonight shows only what you are giving me to spend. There is nothing here that shows how much revenue I brought in, that the department brought in. Actually, my revenue, which I have to report to the state each year, of permits, the change of occupancy inspections, the non-life hazard use fees, and the life hazard use fee rebate from the state came out to $66,000. Now that's actually 39% of the proposed budget here. So that income should sort of be taken into consideration, considering that I came in with $66,000 in last year, and you're looking to spend $170,000. So that should sort of
Where did that go?
Well, we have fees and permits as part of what we actually collected in last year. There's other numbers that are in with Alden's department's numbers, and you see that in the summary of municipal income, that they do get a summary of municipal income, but it's not broken out in total.
So Alden, I'm going to say it's a little tongue-in-cheek, but I don't mean it sarcastically. So I think the council very much appreciates the efforts that go on, and the example I'll use is the entire card discussion was less about whether they would provide a car and more about how they want to figure out how to pay for it. So, you know, I know that's kind of a little backwards compliment, but it usually doesn't go that easily. So, but.
Okay, that's the only thing I have.
Okay, thank you very much. I appreciate your time, Alden.
Hey, everybody? Mark?
Yes.
We got the robocall, school closed indefinitely.
Yeah, we saw the county exec's tape just as we were starting. Yeah. From the superintendent? From the superintendent, right? We're 7 minutes ahead.
2 weeks and then but it was the robocall.
By who? I can't hear.
It wasn't by the superintendent.
Oh. Okay. You know, one of the things that I want to put out, after doing these budgets for a number of years, it's consistent that we look at the budgets and then we have a conversation and a very good point about, should we lease the car? Should we use a different car? Why are we getting an Interceptor? Should it be a Ford Explorer? And a lot of these kind of business philosophical ideas. Perhaps we want to mull around the idea of maybe in August, long before the budgets are due, we actually have a day of a seminar on a Saturday, not a seminar, but a meeting on a Saturday, taking these exact budget books, having an agenda, and then going down and saying, let's spend an hour talking about cars. And then Susan has time to figure out what's what, and rather than have philosophical conversations here. And so, you know, maybe we should schedule that for August if everyone wants to do it. Vanu?
Yeah, I mean, I don't disagree. I was just, I mean, it was hard to kind of tie down. We were talking to him about the conferences and the
Right.
education. So I was just looking at it, and I didn't want to bring it up with him, you know,
Yeah.
because he had gone over some of it. But on page 8, there's 1165 that was spent in 2019.
Are you in fire?
I'm in fire, page 8 on fire prevention.
The conference cost.
So conferences was 1165, and they're asking for 2,200. And then down below that, the education and training 174.95, and they're asking for 2,700. So I was just wondering why we didn't cut it. Is it because the previous year they had 3,400? You know, things like that.
Not that.
So sure.
Go ahead, of course, yeah.
Okay, so what I did was I looked at his overall budget. There's really not that much room in it, so I wasn't, it was like a few $1,000s.
Okay.
I took it down, and then I figured, let's see what they do with the education.
All right, that's fine. I just wanted to know why.
So that's why I was kind of.
Why there was the
asking him,
huge discrepancy.
How many credits and, you know, what
Yep.
he's doing.
Okay.
And part of that day that we talk about, like vehicles, for instance, we could let's put all the vehicles almost together in Tenafly, so we can look at it, because right now they're chunked up by department, so we don't think we have something that we might have.
Look, you know, I think the whole conversation about, we can spend all day talking about our fleet program for the entire borough.
Exactly.
And I think, you know, we probably would ask Susan and Lizette, you know, give them some initial questions and guidelines. We'll do some homework, and then we can spend as many hours as we want when we're not under the pressure, and we'll actually make better decisions when we're not under the pressure of the budget time. Yes, Vanu?
I think we started that discussion last year with, for example, the phones and
Right.
then the cell phones and things like that.
Right.
So I mean, I think it's a productive thing.
Absolutely.
We should start looking at the borough and the departments as kind of a cohesive element rather than as separate.
Independent silos.
I mean, they
agreed.
do have their independent, you know, certain things are separate, but some
Right.
things are.
The next up is the senior center,
Yes.
and we're waiting for Michelle?
We're calling them, I think.
Oh, we're calling the senior center, or Michelle's coming?
No, Michelle's coming.
I thought she's,
We have 5 minutes.
we have 5
We're
minutes.
not used to this, but we're ahead of schedule.
We're ahead of schedule. Would anyone like to take a 5-minute
Michelle?
break or sit here quietly? Oh, Michelle.
5 minutes.
Okay. No, come. We're going to take, a couple of council people are excusing themselves for a second. But come, Michelle, sit down.
Right here?
Absolutely.
Hi, everybody.
Hello, thank you for coming.
Our pleasure. Hello, how are you?
Hi.
Hey, what's going on?
We're taking like a 2-minute break.
Don't feel bad about closing seniors, we just closed all the schools.
Oh, I know, I already heard. I heard about 15 minutes ago.
Yeah,
It's all right.
right move.
Yeah, it's all gonna be fine.
Michelle, are you doing any calls to the seniors while you're closed?
So could I,
Yeah, I can understand.
Lauren, I'll answer that question. So I don't think, maybe you didn't see the press release, I mean, the releases we did today of information. So we're specifically every day calling members of the senior center to see how they're doing, to see if they need groceries, to see if they need anything, and it also if they just want to talk. So that's going to continue indefinitely. Michelle, you want to add anything to that?
Today I went back, after we had our meeting this morning, or this afternoon, we went back and we printed up a list of all Tenafly, and I said, we're gonna concentrate on our Tenafly residents. We are also, though, honestly, we are gonna give attention to all of our residents. So most of our people have email. Out of Tenafly, I think there's only about 50 who do not. So we'll start those calls tomorrow. We talked to a bunch of people today, and we'll start those tomorrow. And then we'll just continue doing it. We're gonna reach out to our board of trustees. They can help us do it. I might give everybody a couple of different people, you know, that and just check in and ask if they need anything, or, you know, just to talk, because this is gonna be isolation for them.
You
It's
have
gonna-
all their, you said.
Yes,
most
we
of
have
them.
400, yes, so with our new membership,
we have a new spreadsheet, a new database with 466 people on it. So I took that and I combined it with our old list. So my database for Tenafly has about almost 400.
Could I ask if you have, and I'm sure you've already done this, but, you know, one of the things that we're really trying to do is make sure when the mayor has an important message that they're getting it.
Yes, so we did
Are they all doing the code red?
most of them, yes, I put in today.
Can we make, yeah.
I sent it today that I think most of them are signed up. I wrote that in the email today, so hopefully.
I'd love to, like, I'm happy to come help, whatever it is, but when they come, even for a couple weeks, let's get everyone to make sure that they're on the code red. I really
Yeah,
want to make sure when the mayor has something to say.
I sent out so far 3 mass emails, so yeah, I don't want to bombard them and I don't want to make them nervous, but I
No,
just
but I
want
think
to keep in constant, yeah.
It's important
Yeah.
because for people with school-age children, it's very easy because the superintendent has easy access to them.
We have-
I'm most concerned with people that don't have school-age children.
Exactly. So what we can, I mean, the people that don't have access to a computer, I know they can call. I have signed people up in the past, so I will remind them to make sure that they sign up.
Okay, so let's start, Michelle, why don't you take us through your budget?
Okay, so this is my first time doing this, so. just
Take
so
your
you
time.
know. Okay.
You've only got 30 minutes, so
I
take
know.
your
Well, I
time.
don't know, do you want me- everyone has a copy of this, correct?
Everyone has copies.
So do I have to go through all the goals and all that? You wanna-
Well,
Okay, no, I'm getting that.
you were good with the goals
You
typically.
have all that.
Why don't you just,
Okay, so on to the next page about the new line item. We asked for $2,000 to be added for programming, but I will be honest with you, we could actually, I know you'll like this, we could actually take that because we asked for the 2,000 because we weren't sure if we were gonna have a very positive response to our new membership policy where everybody pays $25. So we actually have, everything has been very positive. We have over 466 people signed up. So to be honest with you, this was done back in November when we weren't sure. We were getting a little bit, oh, what are you doing? Nobody was really sure, but it actually really has turned out to be a very positive.
Where is
positive
that?
So-
line.
Did I put that in?
Well, I'm just going through my packet.
No, I mean, did you see it in the?
Where-
Oh,
where is the
I
2,000?
don't-
oh, then you didn't put it in.
I didn't
Okay,
put it
sorry,
in.
then I
Okay,
didn't put it in.
one at a time. Go ahead,
I
Michelle.
don't think I put it in.
All right, so we're gonna go this way. Wait, hold on. I'll do it.
Yeah, I don't
Oh,
put
so
it in.
go to the- And then what, do we talk about like the capital stuff after? Okay.
I don't see
And
it.
all our numbers didn't change from the beginning. All right, so office supplies, $500, that stayed the same. Right, going down, education and training, we kept that the same. I'm taking the senior center management course at Rutgers, which thank you very much. It's actually been going very well. I'm actually really enjoying it. Professional dues, I didn't even put in for that. Recreation supplies go down $1,500. Telecommunications, we took that off because of the Verizon that now, I guess the borough was taking care of all that.
Mhm.
Internet expenses, which we need, I didn't change that, $2,500. And food, $500. We've had that in the budget, I guess, forever. So, since way before I've gone. Been there. And postage and we have postage, we send out our newsletter every month to some of the surrounding businesses. Printing and binding, that's our monthly newsletter, that actually stayed the same. And repairs of our copy machine, that stayed the same. So everything stayed the same.
Okay, do you want to move on to the capital discussion?
Yes.
Your narrative for the capital plan?
Okay, so first thing is our air conditioners. So we had 2 replaced this year. One was damaged and we were waiting for a replacement, which I finally got that about a month ago. So we have 2 other air conditioners that are broken down. So I would love to replace those. And I did hear through the grapevine something about a grant for our air conditioners.
Did you hear that?
The current CDBG grant was for the HVAC at the senior center, so we're soliciting a grant for that. But based on how the schedule has been, I don't anticipate receiving word about an award until October or November.
Okay,
But that was our grant project,
Okay.
our submission.
okay. Okay, so, well, I would love to get at least 2 more air conditioners updated, in our main, especially in the main exercise room.
That's included.
So they're about $900 a piece. The next, move on, next one. The next thing is our restrooms do need some updating. Some of the tiles are coming up, our sinks and faucets are leaking. The toilet runs for about 15 minutes after we wash it, which just seems to be wasting a lot of water. The tile, I actually, thank God it was me, I tripped on the tile that thing popped up. I would love to maybe put linoleum down, it's just easier to clean, it's probably more sanitary because there's no grout. We could probably do it right over the tile. I'm hoping that we could do that, update those bathrooms. Our kitchen faucet leaks, it's just wear and tear on the handle, that could be a very easy fix. Our stove in the kitchen is not consistent with the temperatures, and sometimes the burners don't always light, and we have been using the stove more often because we're getting so much more busier that we're trying to do things like that. The swinging doors in the kitchen are very heavy and they slam, and I've had somebody come in and try and fix them twice. They fix them, they tighten them, and then like 2 months later, it's the same thing. And the last thing, which I really hope you, is the pine tree in the front. When you first walk into the building, it's on the left side of the building. We have dealt with animals living in it and eventually making their way into the center. The pine needles are always clogging up the gutters. In October, we had another leak. The gutters were clogged. We had another leak in the lobby, which led to a piece of the ceiling falling down. Sometimes ice puddles up in the front, and I'm just afraid if somebody slips, we throw salt down. It's busy over there with just 2 people, and I think it's more of a safety issue as are the bathrooms.
So Susan,
I think there's 2 things missing from this, the pine tree, and there's one other item.
Yeah.
How much was the pine tree?
Well, the
still
pine
was
tree,
there.
We were debating that pine tree, so we decided what to do with the building. Unless you're gonna be cutting back branches.
is that the tree that has the dedication?
No.
No,
No,
okay.
no, no, this is the pine tree, when you walk in, it's right to the left. Yes, it's big, it's not very attractive.
You guys have asked for that one a couple of years, and we said no, I think, 2 years in a row. But there was a reason, I think we were preserving that tree.
I know they've cut a lot of branches off it.
Right, so we were just hoping that would solve the problem.
Yeah, well, back in October, the gutters were clogged, and the water came in over the gutters into the lobby, and a big, huge piece of the ceiling fell. We had it replaced, but it does get a little dangerous with those gutters, I don't think we need the gutters yet, but it's a little bit of a nuisance.
Why don't we remove the tree to save the building?
Why don't we remove the tree and just save the building? Is that what you want?
Yes.
I'm a no on that, I'm a no.
There's one no for a no.
What?
There's one no.
So you guys have to decide.
Someone-
You want to go around the table?
I'd rather remove the tree than fix the building. Yeah, I remember.
Maybe
What are
the.
we replacing
yeah,
it with? That becomes the question.
Yeah,
Space for a garden. There's always space for a garden.
Yeah.
Yeah, I thought it was maybe like
But-
now.
maybe it could
Adam?
be looked
Okay,
at.
one at a time, too many talking.
Sorry,
Adam?
do you want to take a vote on the
But
tree
I think-
before we move on to?
Do I want to take a vote? You
No,
guys
we're
are
still
asking questions, it's
discussing
up
the
to you.
tree before a vote. I was gonna say, maybe the situation could be looked at by, the powers that be and see what they recommend. What building
I just
inspector?
would like it to have some attention, because just say, like, even last year, and I know this year we didn't have that much snow, right in the center of the 2 doors that open, ice.
Right,
And again, we do go in there, we put the salt down, we've gone out there, we've chopped it, we put the salt down. Next thing you know, it's tracked into the building, and then next thing you know, Our dance floor, the exercise floor, would be very expensive to replace, and the salt is just done.
All right, so let's,
We were holding off until we figured out the plan for the building though. And we were gonna see if we could save the tree by building it in a different way.
That's 5 years. That could be 5 years.
so I'm not sure which tree we're talking about.
I should have brought pictures.
That's okay, so how about tomorrow, I'll come over there with you, Michelle, we'll take a look at the tree so I can better understand, and then report back to everyone about what's going on.
Great. I would
Is
really
that-
appreciate it.
Yeah,
Okay.
so, and then I need to know what a cost for that, like to take it down, if everything.
How tall is the tree?
gotta be
It's not
full
that
grown.
tall. It's been, I know it's been trimmed by the town in the
Right,
past.
we would
What,
take,
maybe it would just require
I'm pretty
trimming.
sure it falls in our conservation ordinance too.
right, understood, but just to address the financial question, the town, we would do that with the DPW, there would be no outside costs, right?
Or could that come out of the tree fund?
To take it down?
Yeah.
No,
It's like in our ordinance not to take it down.
okay, I'm not arguing to take down the
No,
tree.
no, I'm not either. I'm
only-
just asking.
I'm answering, because Vanu is asking an operational question, and there's a financial question. If we take the tree down with the DPW, which we have a tree crew that does those sort of things, like we did at the library, there would be no outside cost, we could do it internally. Whether the council decides to take it down is a whole nother question.
That's why I think it's not that big, because I know what they did over at the library, and I knew that was the town. Right?
We took
Yeah,
those
that was-
down.
Right, so that's what I'm thinking that,
Yeah, it might just, the reason I thought it was someone looking at it who's an expert, it might just require trimming. That was,
I
you know.
know it's already been trimmed since I've been there. and it's-
Yeah, I just saw a picture of it. Vanu, I just saw the picture of it. That's a tree. If the borough decided to, we would do that internally. There'd be no outside cost. So nothing to add to the budget for that.
So, I have a
But
question.
nothing's been
Go
decided.
ahead.
Nobody's really decided on the air conditioners, the three, what we need
No,
to
the
consider.
the
Adam.
three are part of the grant, so what's in this
Do we
budget?
have that all through the bathroom?
Yes, that's,
Okay, that one's in. I just wanna
Okay,
make-
but the
one-
one for the art room is what's
And
in.
we can't get that
Okay.
into our grant?
No, that is going into the grant. Now, the
Wait,
wall
wait.
air conditioner for the art room, I need a decision on that.
So.
That-
if I could
Adam
help-
has a question.
If I could help make that decision.
Go ahead.
So if I could partner with Susan, I had a chance to look through my new favorite toolbox, which is the ordinances. And I found 3 different senior center outstanding ordinances. They're relatively small. When you add them up, though, they make a difference. Like, a number of years ago, you asked for 3 air conditioners, you got them, but you were so good at buying them, you saved $255. That is cash just sitting there that I assume if it says air conditioners, you could still use it for other air conditioners. I found another $707, $452, $3,500. So if we can take a look at the ordinances
Do you
and
know
see if
the
there's.
numbers?
Yeah, I can go, I don't know if we need.
Why don't we do that
I
offline?
could give it to
Yeah.
you.
Okay, but you see, if they're not gonna work in that, I need to know if we're
Backup
gonna
plan.
keep it.
You
in
can
this-
determine that right now?
Yeah, I have my capital here.
Oh, so give her the numbers now. She has her list with
What's
her.
the,
So what is it?
And we still have time in the senior budget
C,
discussion.
04, 55, 911,
Does that-
373,
Those are from old
500.
CDBG
okay,
grants,
so
isn't
I'm
it?
gonna find that one
No,
first.
but if it says like parking lot,
Nine
No, no,
eleven.
the air conditioner one, the old one.
no, that's in this new one.
No, the old one. If the old one was a
Nine
CDBG grant,
eleven.
it's a
But
What
it
was the
wasn't for
next
air
one?
conditioner.
Three.
Wouldn't have been for air conditioning.
If it was
Yeah,
granted back in the day.
There's a refrigerator
Yeah,
with a
that's closed
freezer
down.
that
There's
has
a bathroom.
$707
I
savings.
did good on that.
You did very well on that.
I
I
know-
want you
I
to
know
get all the
people.
credit for it.
That's good.
How much are the, air conditioners?
Air conditioners, actually, air conditioners look like they were actually overspent by $200. but-
Yeah, that budget, they're about $900 a piece.
But since we have,
That's with- I'm
See,
sorry.
since we have a CDBG grant for air conditioners, you cannot spend before that grant's awarded, because if you buy all those air conditioners, you did it before the grant, then we'll be ineligible to receive that award. That's why we only put for the art room, since that was more needed, had a greater need for it, for there, and then trying to offset the cost with the grant.
So did you buy 3 air conditioners?
What, we were, no, we bought 2.
Last year?
Yes, because it was, the person that was there before me didn't put enough money in the budget, so we were only able to get 2.
I mean, if I add the other air conditioner,
Yes.
this line would since you didn't buy 3, you possibly could to see, sometimes bond counsel has me put in a specific number, so you only bought 2. The only thing is if she can't, if you buy 1 here, then the senior center section over expends within the ordinance, so it gets a little bit,
That gets a little fuzzy.
Yeah, it does. I mean, depending on where I see if there's, and this is a newer ordinance, if there's somebody that spent all their money and has something left, we could possibly do.
There's another one it says senior center lot improvements.
That's a parking lot.
That's a parking lot, you can't move that from.
Anything else, is there
Has
I
to
guess
be.
if the tree doesn't cost anything,
Yeah.
that's fine.
And what's the other one?
There's another, so there's at least $500 there.
The air conditioning to cool the parking lot.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah. So Susan, do you have enough information to do what you need to do?
I mean, there's really only like 4, how much is there, she said?
900 each.
So,
452 on that.
so I would overexpend her section by some money, but within the ordinance, it would be okay, so I'd have to go through the ordinance to see if there's any money left somewhere else, and I
Can
think
it-
it would be
well,
okay.
Julie, you have a question?
Yeah, can I throw something out regarding this money for the parking lot, for example? If the concern was, and I'm just thinking out loud here, that the water's collecting by the entrance of that seniors would go into, and that's the icy patch, then, so theoretically, there's some sort of dip, right? And that would have to be kind of repaved or redone? Could that be the type of thing that the lot
Yeah, I mean, so that
money
gets
would be?
into the typography, and so we need to physically see what's going on to even begin to address that. So I'm gonna do that tour with Michelle tomorrow. I'll bring Bob Colbert over there, and
Because
we'll
there might
figure
be
that
some
out.
funds for that, it is
No,
kind of the lot. It's the,
This was for the trucks, and then they have to
right.
retrofit the old trucks.
So that it adds money, still has to stay in there.
Yes,
Okay.
that's for the flippers.
So it's up to you, Susan.
There's also senior center, I don't know if some of this bathroom stuff, furniture. So there's another $716 in ordinance, $373,500, that's senior center furniture, $716 of additional money as well.
And where is that? In which ordinance?
04, 55, 179, 373, 500.
Oh. Wait, it's not really, we're not, I don't know if we're gonna find money in 9/11, that's one thing. And what was that one, 1904?
I still haven't learned how to read it exactly, but it's 04, 55, 179, 373.
Oh, 179, okay, let me go back.
As long as we're heads together.
179.
Millions of dollars.
All right.
Well, don't
Senior
say,
center.
let me see what's left in there.
How you doing, Susan?
I'm doing, let me see.
$29 of audiovisual equipment, so if you want any DVDs, new movies that have come out, you got 29 bucks.
$29.
VHS?
We get them from the library,
Okay.
then digital now.
Library's closed.
Library's
Library's closed, unfortunately, right now.
So get down.
What was that, okay.
It says furniture, we had $13,144 to spend, we only spent $12,456.84.
But you, okay, when it comes to ordinances, just so you know, you really need to, like the air conditioner, we could probably do something with that, but you're not supposed to put something else there.
But it's just bathroom stuff, they needed,
But
they
is
said
it
they said they needed a
bathroom?
new bathroom.
Yeah, bathroom.
They
Where
needed
is
like
it?
Love
a,
new toilets, new
But it
sinks.
says, did you say
3 linoleum
furniture?
floors.
Okay, what's in the current capital and recommended are the air conditioners for the senior center,
That I could probably do
the
something with.
faucet and the stove. The bathroom is 6,000, that is not in the recommended, and we don't have, the swinging doors was not listed in,
new faucet for the kitchen is $300, and then a new kitchen stove is $900.
But what I'm saying is, do you have to use the ordinances for their intended purpose?
Furniture, faucets for.
no,
No. I can't do
that won't,
That won't fly.
That's
Because
not
That one-
investors invest in the bonds when we bond. It's very specific, and they really hone in on this.
Yeah.
You can't just put it anywhere.
See, if it said, let's say if the ordinance said renovation, and it was used years ago to
Okay.
renovate
I see.
an
What's
art
the what?
room, and there's a balance left over, if it's vague enough, you could apply it, but you cannot use something that
Right, you
specifies
can't build a bathroom
furniture
with
for
office furniture money.
bathroom.
For something.
Okay, so where, Susan, let's refocus here.
Okay.
Where are we now?
So I might be able to do the extra air conditioner.
Okay.
That's it.
So nothing with the bathrooms.
The bathrooms are in the,
Rest days
well, no, the
is
kitchen.
I had $4,500 on my bathroom. Just so you know, I'm gonna just, okay.
One thing, one of the prior questions from the last capital budget was, do we have to spend the 16,000? Like if there's a code requirement, why not? I spoke with Bob Culver and said, no, that is just a requirement. It has to be done. It's rotted, but there's no code requirement. So if you defer that to next year, you take that 6,000 for the restroom upgrade and you have $10,000 left over.
Where's the 16,000?
It is on the capital budget.
Yeah.
That there was a question, exterior doors at council chambers for 16,000. That there was a question, do we really have to do it?
Yeah, I don't-
It could be deferred to next year.
I think we said no.
Well, the only thing, I have a question here, is it a fire code issue? And if
Right.
it's not, then take it out, otherwise you leave it in. It's not a code issue, so you could take out 10,000 and put the 6,000 for the restroom upgrade.
Oh, so in other words, you're saying, why do the doors so we can get something of value we'll use every day?
Exactly.
Right.
Sure.
No, it was,
we already took it out.
no, it was, if,
We have to
it was
investigate.
questionable.
It was recommended.
But you said it wasn't a fire code.
No, it was to investigate if there was a code issue. Do we really need to? Otherwise, take it out. So you don't need to, you could defer it.
Somebody must have told me because I wrote not a fire code issue.
No, see, question, is it an issue?
No, no, but why
Okay,
does
so
she
let's
have
talk
none?
about where we are rather than
Okay,
where we were a week
so
ago.
I have to ask
Right.
Suzanne a question. Are you done with this here? Assisted living?
Yeah, that's,
Okay, so you could get the air conditioner if the governing body approves it, that one air conditioner.
Sounds like they're good with it. And so where are we with the bathroom? Are we trading doors for bathrooms?
I don't know, but.
How about just two,
Wait a minute, one question at a time. Right, are we,
That's a great trade.
is that what we're doing?
That's
Trading
what I-
the doors for the bathrooms?
That's what I would say if there's no, requirement to. by
So
the
would you
fire
rather
code.
have us fix the door here or get a new bathroom?
I would like to do that, it's 3 bathrooms.
Whatever the number, the dollars are the dollars. Susan, any questions about
Well, I
that?
do have a question. Wait,
Somebody tripped on it.
there was no grant for the bathroom is here in Borough Hall, and it's already, the agreement is approved, and the application was a Borough Hall. No, because it's not in the same building.
So, okay. So I have a question. Are you saying take the 16,000 out even though we don't know if it's a fire code?
No,
We do know
we
it's
know
not.
that it's
That's
not.
what I said.
That,
It's
no,
not.
no, no, no,
It's
but
not.
it was questionable. No,
Let's
what was
not-
decided is, do we need it? If not, then take it out. But it wasn't said, take it out that night. It's, do we need it? The answer is, it can be deferred to next
Okay, I
year,
already took it out.
but
Good.
instead of having 16,000, you apply 6 for the senior center bathrooms, and what you have taken out was 10.
So I'm leaving in.
6.
Take out 16, put in 6.
Wait, we have to stop there. How can I leave, if the doors cost.
Take out the whole 16,000,
Okay.
reduce it to 0,
I did already.
and then add the number for the bathrooms for the senior center.
And is that 6,000?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, that's what I have, okay.
Okay.
6,000 or you said 4,000?
No, I said 4,500, it won't be 6,000.
So let's do 4,500, because then the money just gets
Is it
stuck
four-
there. and-
Okay, so wait a minute, time out. How do we know it's 4,500 versus 6,000?
I have a contractor. My husband, I'm gonna be honest, my husband's a contractor. He came in one day and he said, he said $4,500 will get you everything, but he doesn't think it's gonna cost that much. So maybe like $4,000.
We need an actual quote, we can't.
I'll get you one tomorrow. I mean, yeah.
Well, so, okay, time out a
Yes,
second.
it's fine.
Susan, does that work for 4,500?
Yes, we're
If it
putting
goes above,
4,500.
right, if it goes above 4,500, there'll be no money for it, right?
Well,
Okay.
hopefully these are estimates where, we can't go under an ornament in total.
Okay. All right, do you have any other questions or comments?
No, yeah, so, go ahead.
I have to go through this list because I don't think we're done with them.
Okay, go ahead.
So, the 2,700 is in, the 1,200 we're putting towards the ordinance 9/11, and then there's something I think I was missing from this list, that's why I'm asking. Then you have $300 for the faucet, and you have 900 for the stove. Those two things I need an answer on from the governing body.
Did you recommend they be in the capital budget?
Yes,
So how does the council feel about those items?
I'm sorry, about which one?
the new
Stove and the
faucet in the
faucet.
kitchen and the new stove,
So the faucet is how much money?
300.
And the stove is?
900.
Are there any other items?
I think I missed one,
Well,
that's
it's the swinging doors in the kitchen. I know that's been, I mean,
Yeah, I don't
we
have
could
that on
continue, if it's a.
How much
question,
money is it?
900.
Yeah, how much money is it, let's say yes or no?
Oh, the swinging doors are not on the list, I think.
They're
I
not
didn't
on.
put the, but how much were they, just curious?
900.
They've, I know the past couple budgets,
That can be
they've
done
asked for
in-house,
that.
probably, right?
But
Hold on, sorry.
Sorry.
Are they like the saloon doors at like a bar?
No, no, they're more solid, because we do like it for noise, it's more of a solid door.
How much is it?
900.
900 plus,
So we dropped it from 6,000 to 4,500. We can add back 900.
so $2,100, yes or no? Going once?
Wait,
But
21.
that can be done in-house.
Total.
That's-
Whether you do it in-house or not, it's gonna cost $2,100.
Wait, no, 900.
Total, for the other two items, the stove,
9 and 3.
Oh, yeah, 993,
Right.
yeah.
Yeah, that's fine.
Yep.
So this is all for the kitchen, so I'm just gonna put upgrades to kitchen. And then I'll put a note.
And then
with
combine it all.
Bathroom.
The swinging doors.
As long as you
the-
guys still
okay.
make pancakes.
that's it. Susan,
Well,
Got it.
anything else then with our budget? Any other questions for Michelle, Vanu?
so, I'd like to say, you guys are doing a great job at the senior center. We see you at least once a month, if not more often, and it's great. I think with the men's cooking class and everything, they need a new stove to work on it. I have one question about, so you talked about the senior center, you put it in for 2023,
The new center.
the new center.
Okay, yeah.
So, this is all in preliminary discussions, but, if there was a senior center placed, if you know where parking lot O is,
Yes.
which is behind the stores on Washington, so it's, across the street on Washington, and then on the other side. Would that be an area that you think might
Yes,
be,
because they could still walk to town,
okay?
and as long as the parking is better than what it is where we are now, yeah, I think it would be a great location.
So
Okay.
there's the parking lot funds.
So just to put it out there to the council as a possibility, because you brought this issue up, Vanu, and this is important to the senior center, right? The senior center would typically cost money to build, right? Borrow money, tax money. If, because of the time, we have enough time to talk this through, if a new location was found, let's say it's parking lot O location, and everyone agreed or considered the idea of having people living above the senior center in some sort of condo, private apartments, whatever it might be, the senior center, a new one could likely be built at no cost to the taxpayers. Okay, it was a very common development concept, so that's something everyone should put in the back of their mind for discussion purposes.
And I just, in the past, they've had meetings where they did not agree with having anybody living above, but I
Right.
think, if you, the way you put it like that, I mean, I think they could be convinced. You know, as long as it's not like, you know, maybe like 10 stories, if it's
No.
just a few apartments,
Right.
yes, of course.
Conceptually, that's all. I'm not talking about specific designs.
Right.
Right. Okay. Anything else?
Thank you so much for.
You guys are doing fabulous work. Keep up the good work.
Just so you know, it has been a heart-wrenching week for everybody
Understood.
over there,
We'll-
but we're going to get through it.
We'll get through
Hang in
it.
there.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, everybody.
More
Stay
pancakes.
healthy.
More pancakes.
Yeah, I will. Thank you. Have a great night, guys.
Good night.
So next up,
All right, we've got 3 minutes.
Wait, can I talk about, I really can't hear the new, I can't really hear Mark. It's, not great.
I said we have 3 minutes to the next person.
recreation and then youth services. Susan, you had moved that open space funds back, right? For recreation, it was the lighting for the basketball
Jamie, how you
court
doing?
when it was in Capitol. It was our first meeting. You had used open space funds, but we said to put it back into recreation. No, I mean, not taking it out of open space. The lighting for the basketball courts, that was one of the first things.
We have to, clear up everything.
Yeah.
Okay, because that, we weren't comfortable.
That's inevitable, right?
Yeah, that one can happen.
Okay. And I, perfect. And, well, on this one, I'm gonna ask why.
Oh, we're right.
The Walnut
we have
Park
to be out there with
Playground, we
tape
thought there
measures
might
and
have been
surveys.
some grant
Do
money
some
from the
math.
past for that?
We got grant money from the open space fund.
Right, so we gotta figure whether there's enough space behind, in front.
Yes, it's on there.
Oh, it's 150.
35,000 for the other one.
The train,
For the train station.
what, that's coming out of the lease.
And then that's 75,000 for.
About the train station light.
Well, we have to appropriate 150,
How we make that
and then the 75 is reimbursed.
Right.
This is 170.
Because you have to.
Should be what?
That's
Grant.
construction, you have to allow for engineering, manufacturing, that's a percentage, that's
so-
all
Right.
in
I don't know.
Right.
What would we get back?
I don't have my phone on me, so my wife
That,
can
you
tell
get
me, but I know today that.
sometime,
Lighting company immediately do the design.
Right, get it done.
professional,
I gotta talk to her about how we make that
Here
happen.
it is.
you get back 50% of
Okay, so what's this discussion now? We ready to start? Okay. Jamie, thanks for being here.
The details.
Why don't you take us through?
Where do you guys want to start?
Go through your operating.
I just thought of something outside. Sorry. Because I was out my cigarette.
Recreation. Do which one? You could.
Okay, Jamie, you're up.
Okay.
Let's
We're
go.
gonna start with the operating budget.
Okay?
I pretty much kept my operating budget the same this year, so there are minor changes with lower recommendations.
Yeah, I did. Okay.
If you're going to the operating, we have that page to look at the training page.
Training? Okay.
Are all these conferences or is it just one conference? Is it numerous conferences?
Yes. So you have the you have it down by events. So the NJRPA, that was already finalized, we did that. Rob attended the athletic maintenance conference. That's already done. We're looking at recreation staff conferences additional throughout the year.
I mean, is there anything else, what's required right now for you to maintain the position?
What's required for me is my CEUs. So as far as that's concerned, they come out normally
4 times a year. So as the season goes, it's budgeted, total budget is $3,449. So as the year goes on.
We can figure it out.
Your actual journey.
Conferences and meetings were 4,927, 33. And let me see if there's anything else.
Very high training.
So I have, all our staff members, especially recreation, have to be trained. Rob hasn't been getting much training the previous year. We have to start getting him field and maintenance training, to use the equipment. It's more like a safety precaution.
Jamie, do you have a requirement of CEUs? I'm just curious.
I do. You guys usually don't ask for it, but I do have my current CEUs.
No, but how many CEUs do you need?
12.
12 over what period of time?
Usually a year.
Okay.
Yes. Whether it's free, I take some free courses, and they tend to be some point CEUs.
Okay, do you want to take us from the top on this then? Anything you want to go through?
Are we done with the?
Oh, sorry.
Laura, are we done with the conferences?
Laura and Jamie would like to know if you're done with the conference. Okay.
Yes, okay. So, operating budget. It's pretty much what's kept the same,
My main question is overall plan. What is the amount taken as a trust versus this?
Oh, I didn't bring the trust. Maybe you could explain the trust to them. Should I go run it off? Because it's not part of the budget process.
Yeah, the trust is not, okay, so just so everyone's aware, the trust is not part of the budget process? Right, so do you want to go through the budget and then we can have a separate conversation about the trust? Because they're not. Pardon me?
Take the items out of the budget. She wants to know if certain things could be taken out of operating and applied to the trust.
so the trust money is basically registrations.
And dedicated.
It's dedicated to the trust accounts. They have separate lines for the trust. That money can only be utilized for that specific purpose. If camp money was taken in for camp, it could only be used on camp items.
I'm not talking about the camp, I'm talking about the rec trust.
That is the rec trust. It's camp, it's sports, so lacrosse, let's use lacrosse as a camp trust item. Same thing,
Is baseball in there?
softball, yes.
Not.
It has its own line item.
Something like, say, like ball field maintenance can go out of the softball trust?
No. That's an operational item.
So
Because it's used,
yeah.
I'm sorry, it's used for other sports as well.
The
But-
trust,
Why can't it come out of the sports trust?
So Jamie, why don't you answer the question that should be asked first also is what is the trust paying for? What is it writing checks to?
Uniforms, rec fees, it's used for any additional, people that work, let's say, a tournament. It's used for supplies sometimes, depends on what it is. That's why field maintenance supplies, it's like in a whole. So the operational budget has field maintenance supplies, it's for the entire field. If it's specified for softball, we put it under softball.
Let me ask you a different way. Can the trust afford to pay for, on page 8, the equipment and supplies under recreation, which is about $11,000?
So do we have enough money in softball to pay
I
for?
want to know, Susan, let me ask Susan, I would like to know how much money is in the trust. This is $11,000 of recreation supplies equipment that I don't want in this operating budget for rec department.
okay, so what I would,
Vacation why it's not.
I have a question for Jamie before I can answer this, and I could go look too. Jamie, is there, when you take in all the revenue for your trust, and I have to go back and look, is there an excess in any of these, or do you generally? Okay, so that is why she's asking.
Yes, but specific fields are not just used for one sport. They're used for many
I'm
sports.
not asking about the fields, I'm asking about the equipment and supplies.
So can you use your trust money funds first before you use,
But then you're taking money out of a fund that if I need $5,000 worth of equipment, there's no money left.
okay,
And supplies, so is it $11,000 that's being asked for operating that should be coming out of the trust first?
Lizette,
Hold on.
Lizette wants to add something.
I think to
Excellent.
clarify, the best thing to do is to explain why, for the recreation supplies line item, what is purchased with that, and if anything is purchased for that, that is associated with a sport.
A
But for
specific sport.
recreation supply,
okay. Lizette is asking that we need to determine from Jamie what the $7,981 under recreation supplies was spent for, what we spent it on.
No, I don't know what they're asking for to spend 11 going forward.
Hold,
where's 11?
she's talking about the recreation
equipment
equipment
and
and supplies.
Oh, okay,
Yeah, you have to
so,
know what it's spent
you know,
on.
a good analogy
So-
of this.
Okay, one at a time here. Too many people are talking. Vanu has a question first.
So my question is the same as Lizette's question. There's recreation equipment and recreation supplies. What comes out of the recreation equipment? What do we, is it specific, is it like baseballs in equipment? Is it specific to a sport?
Equipment meaning for the field.
Okay, so it's not,
Trimmers, seed, grass cutting, anything to modify the field, not specified to
But
a
that's
sport.
field maintenance.
It could be put under one line. I don't know why it's under two, but
And
it's.
you have other things of equipment, maintenance and repair of equipment.
There's something called ball
maintenance of
field
motor vehicles.
Oh, can I, I'm going to, okay, I want to I'm going to interrupt for a second. I mean, now we're having a chart of accounts question here about how we want everything labeled. I mean, that's a whole nother thing. So, Vanu, you have a question?
and then so that's equipment, supplies. What comes out of supplies?
Can I add to that?
Go ahead.
Like, would recreation supplies, would that cover like the Easter egg hunt supplies, or the Halloween celebration, or the father-daughter Valentine's
I mean, I
dance?
can run an audit on
Or is it supplies like cleaning supplies? Or
So, I'm sorry, because you guys are.
Go ahead, Susan, go ahead.
Page 8.
I just want to say that sometimes
you
do have a trust, like the concerts. You have an operating
course.
budget and you also have a trust. And the reason why you have both is because the trust may not cover all the concerts. So
Right.
sometimes you have to have something in operating and something in the trust that is dedicated solely to the trust.
So
Okay.
one of the
Dan?
pluses of a trust is if lacrosse has a terrible year this year in registration, you don't have the money built up for it. Next year, it blows up out of nowhere, she can go straight off the bat.
So that's.
Softball, seasonal, whatever
Yes,
it is.
so that's exactly correct.
Let me tell him what Dan
Yeah.
said. Dan was saying that one of the reasons why you have the trust is if one year you have a bad year and then the next year that you don't, and it blows up, that you have enough funds if you don't have it in operating to cover it from the trust. Because it is a perpetual, ongoing fund.
This is a big ask of $11,000. We don't know what it, I can buy a lot of softballs for $11,000. I want an itemized.
Well, again, can you explain what?
Why it can't be in the trust.
What are you buying with the,
With the $7,981 in 2019, what did you buy with it?
Why don't I go look?
so go
Okay,
look.
so go
while-
look, but she
while
can answer as
she's
well.
answering the question.
List of things that we put.
Yes, but what? Give us an idea.
Get, Susan, get the list.
They're mutual things for the programs, right? So like I said, it depends. I personally would redo the lines and what they're described as.
Forget about, no, just
Yes.
what
So
what
let-
is
let
in
her-
that
Right, so if I'm gonna go to
7,981?
the hardware store and buy things to fix the field, and I put it under rec supplies instead of I put it under field maintenance. I mean, you know what I mean? So it's like, it depends, like, they're both the same account, you know what I mean? Except they could be put together.
Taxpayers pay twice.
She's gonna tell you exactly what.
Generate these trucks. They anticipate that that money is going to be used back for the sport.
No trust money
Taxpayers
gets,
to pay additional
trust
Yeah,
money does not
Lauren.
exist on fields like that.
Lauren, you can't use trust money for general expenses. It has to be for that dedicated purpose.
other line items in this budget. These two items should come out.
But some of what Jamie is saying is that some of these items are used for multiple purposes, not for a single dedicated purpose. And trust funds have to be used for a single dedicated purpose.
Who would you charge it to?
Yeah, I guess the question, Lauren, the question becomes, then how do we pay for things if we just arbitrarily take line items out of the budget?
No, you're paying, there's 50 line items in this. This is a huge operating budget.
So,
Well, I mean, huge relative to what? This is,
$35,200.
yeah.
35,200 for the operating side.
This department spent over about $250,000 of our budget. And they also.
That's salary.
But that includes salary.
well, that, that,
Really small for.
but that includes salary. That's what it, if we just arbitrarily start slashing the budget, how do we expect to pay for anything?
And the thing about the recreation department is things happen, right? So,
Well, then we would have to start raising fees for our programs.
we would have to do that, and we would have to, if I buy something that's mutual, I'm gonna have to charge all the accounts different amounts. And do we wanna start doing that?
That's
$50
part of it. That's an,
here,
no, that's an
$50
accounting question. That's not the
So-
issue.
Yeah, I don't
I
wanna
would
do
say
that.
similar to this, there's been a number of other questions, similar to how we have sometime in August or whatever, a conversation about cars. Lauren, if you think it's a good idea, I'd be happy to have a conversation around what is our, charging strategy. I think for this budget, I don't think it's, we're gonna make those changes today.
I'm not sure she heard you.
So
I
we,
think that they're double dipping, and I'm sorry, I think that some things in this budget need to move out.
She say double
I
dipping?
can't.
well, I mean, so when you say double dipping, you mean we're buying things twice that we don't need?
We're buying one thing,
I
charging
mean,
it
the
twice.
taxpayers are.
No.
Then taxpayers aren't. That's not what's, I mean, that's
Maybe.
really, there's two conceptually different things you're
Yeah,
suggesting
so
there.
There's maintaining the facilities for everybody, and then there's specified things. So buying uniforms for that sport, buying goals for that sport, doing specific
And are there
things.
sports that are free that you're not raising money in a trust?
I don't-
Are there sports that are free that you don't charge fees for?
Sports?
Yeah, no, everything, no, Lauren, no, fees are charged for everything.
And it's allocated to that trust line.
And it's allocated to that trust line specifically.
So a great example would be you're starting a brand new Frisbee program in the end of March.
I can't hear him.
Where did that money come from?
So, Dan is saying if you started a new sport program like Frisbee, there would be fees associated to join, and then that would go into the Frisbee Trust because it would go towards running that particular sport.
They have specific field sizes,
right.
lines.
And then they would pay for Frisbees out of that. They would pay for, if you needed any special equipment for the players who engage in that activity, they would pay that out of the trust, but they can't pay for the field, unless it's like taxes, if you're taking.
Jeff, go ahead.
No, so I mean, if you're taking certain, you need to specify what the payment is for, and it has to be very specific.
That's what our admins is for, that's what our budget's for. We have trust, it says every line item that I spend on, it says exactly what it is, what it's for.
I mean,
So that's all.
as long as Jamie is representing that, that these expenses in supplies and equipment and stuff like that are for multiple, or for the general use of the fields, you can't use a trust account for that.
Jeff has a question?
Yeah, so having been on the Little League board for many years, I know that we spend a lot of time there when I was on it, trying to balance how much we charge as a fee to keep it reasonable versus what we needed to operate the program, and also it went towards certain maintenance of the fields. I mean, Little League does pay for outside maintenance, as I'm sure you know. So the question is, I think the other side of the coin is, how do you determine what fees you charge for all the programs?
So you base it on the uniforms, the refs, the
Nothing in here.
any additional type of fees, equipment. So we kind of grab all that information, and like anything, like in a sport, goal breaks, those are not cheap, we need to buy something else. We have to factor that in to pricing.
All right, so do you factor in some of the field maintenance that goes for that sport, or some of the printing costs for that sport? Because again, in Little League, which is one of the co-sponsored sports, they are.
Well, it's co-sponsored, so you guys aren't under a municipal budget, so you have no trust or you have no operating budget. You guys run under like one budget.
So what we do though is but that's what we do, is we figure all those expenses, and then we charge the fee based on those expenses. So I think the question becomes, if those are part of the expenses or those built into the fee, your answer is no. And it's not built into the fee, and the question is, at some point, is that a discussion to have?
Yeah, I mean, you would have to, then it becomes studies on the field, who uses the field, how many hours do they use the field, or, like sometimes EMS uses the field, right, so they're not Tenafly, but they have Tenafly students, they use our field. What are we charging then? Are we charging rental fees? Are we charging maintenance fees to them? It then becomes something different.
Well, there are
And then it raises fees.
well, there are permit fees, right, for outside groups?
Well, they're really not considered an outside group?
No, but when there are outside groups.
We don't really rent out to outside groups.
Okay.
Yeah.
Schedule's packed enough like that.
Okay,
Yep.
Susan's back with the list of the $10,000 question.
Okay, so in recreation supplies list, oh wait, this is just very different list. There was a lot of things they purchased in recreation supplies.
How many pages is that list?
This is about 2 pages, mainly like costumes for events, candy for the Halloween party, props for Halloween, spider webs for Halloween, duct tape, donuts, cider, tree decorations, community night, wood bolts, popcorn. There's not that, the biggest item on here is deposit for community night. That's it. Final payment, they use that out of this account, final payment for community night. So mainly, most of the items purchased in here they range from anywhere from $4 and something up to a couple $100. Here's one, snow machine for Santa's visit.
Is there anything, Susan, in there that could be allocated from a trust fund?
Then I pulled the trust fund dollars, and I just want you to know that when I'm looking at this, there's not that much money left in each account. Like yoga has $2,000, Pilates has $87, Zumba $1,000, summer basketball $2,000, table tennis $1,600. The money mainly is in there's some money in golf, right? But that's coming up. You have some money in cheerleading.
Golf program?
Yeah, there's golf. Do you still have a golf program? Okay. Mainly, most of the money that's in the thousands is girls softball, 21,000 you have in there, and the camp. The camp you have, and you're collecting registration right now?
Well, yeah, softball collecting registration, didn't buy uniforms, didn't really buy anything yet.
What about for camp? Are you collecting registration?
Yeah.
Okay.
So
Let
that
me
should
see
be
what the
pretty-
camp is.
Yeah, that should be pretty.
I thought I saw it. Yeah, summer camp, they have like 200 and something thousand in there. I don't know exactly what you've been collecting so far. So that's
But
really it.
you've been collecting revenue for summer camp already?
Oh, yes,
Right.
for months.
When do you start collecting the revenue?
January.
January.
January it starts.
So basically the rest of the accounts,
There's not a lot of money in these trusts.
No, but,
offset the $11,000.
I mean, the only other money that's
And
in
what's
there,
there
which
has
the
nothing to do with
borough
sports.
has opted to use.
Say that again?
The only other money that's in there that the borough has opted to use rather than putting in or operating was the accumulation of administrative fees, which we used for the swim club last year.
For the swim club last year,
Yeah.
right?
And we will be using that too, again, possibly.
Okay, any more questions on this? All right, next, go ahead.
Are we looking at every line of the operating?
Well,
No,
if there's
only
any
if-
other questions.
Only if there's questions.
So since I stepped out, was there any questions on that?
There were no other
Was
questions.
everything staying the same?
Does anyone have any other questions?
So can
Yes,
we,
maintenance and repair of vehicle and equipment on page 7.
That's our field groomers. We have
What?
The, maintenance and repair of vehicles, is our field groomers. We have 2 borough trucks that need maintenance. And anything else that we need maintenance for, any of the backpack blowers, any of our equipment that needs maintenance.
Well, I think that's overestimating. What does everyone else think?
For, you're talking about for maintenance and repair of equipment, the 6,100?
6,100.
Yeah, I mean, I'm wondering, can we bring that down to 4,000, 3,000?
I can't hear you, son. Okay.
Yeah, Vanu said he's wondering if it could be brought down to 3,000 or 4,000.
Everybody has to be.
no. I
So
wouldn't.
my concern is, we never know what's gonna happen to our vehicles. Prior year, we ran out of money on that line.
Isn't this a brand new piece of equipment we bought last year?
I'm speaking of more like our trucks.
In general.
Our trucks, the prior year, we went over that line and then we raised that line because we never know what's gonna happen to our vehicles. Our 2 trucks are older. We have 1 new field groomer, the other one is very old. And our equipment, unless it's brand new, it needs to be maintenance just like anything else. So the answer is, I don't know what's gonna happen to the vehicles. We can go over the line if that's possible. 4,000 is too low.
I think there's money in other places here. I think there's a lot of cushion here. I'd give 3,000.
Not worth the gamble.
I can't maintenance.
Ball field maintenance, 3,500?
That was already lowered, I
No, that's lowered to 3,500.
think. Right.
We're,
Any other questions? Any other questions?
Well, is this budget gonna stay the same, or are we?
I think we just loaded by $3,500.
Only one person's in.
Everybody agree with that? Disagree with that?
Maintenance of vehicle?
Yeah.
Repair?
Oh, I didn't,
He said
sorry.
I'm a no on that.
Yeah,
Jeff?
I can't do that.
Wait, maintenance of the motor vehicle from 1,300 to what?
No, the next one.
The
Oh, the next one,
6,100.
6,100. Because we keep talking about vehicles and,
yeah, I don't think of trucks as equipment, so
That's what the line is under. I mean, I
the trucks is not under vehicles? There's maintenance,
There's-
maintenance.
So-
the-
so
no,
I
wait,
think
there's
part of
two-
the
If you look at
confusion
page
is
7.
there's 2 different maintenance and repair. There's maintenance of motor vehicles.
Page
That's
7.
1,300.
Right.
Then there's maintenance and repair of equipment, 6,100.
Okay, so yes, one is specifically our vehicles, our groomer and stuff like that.
So the maintenance and repair of what equipment? I think that's,
So it could be any, it could be goals, it could be scoreboard, it could be anything that is residing in our facilities that need repair. Or anything that needs to be bought to repair it.
6,100 is fine.
I
Just
mean,
an
it's
example.
It's
If
basic.
you look at the last 3 years, like, they go over that. Like, it would
Yeah,
be, it wouldn't
right.
be prudent for us to be lowering these numbers.
Just the other budget meeting, Cheryl Reynolds went in here. My door broke. I need $8,000.
Right.
It's just, you don't know, you gotta budget for these things.
Actually, we do know, stuff goes wrong all the time.
There it is.
Stuff
Right.
goes wrong recreational.
All the time.
But we can't pad in $100,000 just because something might go wrong.
Which we have.
So that's the question. So we have to always come up with an adequate number, but not over. I mean,
This looks like the right number.
so that's fine.
2018, it was actually over. It was 7,000, and 2017, it was over that. It was
And then
about-
what, if I could, what is the, on page 8, rental?
I'm still on page 7, I got more, don't go to 8 yet.
Okay, go ahead.
So that's staying.
Take out the skate park maintenance, please.
She would like to take out skateboard maintenance.
It's still open.
We've actually already spent it, I'm sure. Who paid for taking down all that?
What's the
It was,
question, what's the question?
She wants to take out
Taking
skate
down
park
the items was
maintenance.
done by the DPW and by Rob. So we have our site supervisor, we have DPW, they took it down. If,
Right, so we're not gonna spend any more on maintenance this year, we're either gonna do a project or not do a
No, it's
project,
the
or we're not
opposite.
gonna.
No, we still have
it's open.
an open skate park with equipment, so it will very likely require some sort of maintenance.
We're gonna open it with one faulty ramp
It's
right
open.
now?
It's, no, the metal ramp's okay.
The metal ramp is fine. The faulty ramp has been removed a month ago.
I mean, we're not opening any parks and playgrounds right now anyway, but I think that
It's
that's,
open.
additional when we're
The
already
kids use it.
considering a whole other project here.
Yeah.
Parks and playground, no.
Unless we lock it
They're all
up,
open.
we
We're not-
can't not meet it.
that's-
I
because
went
it's
to,
still
there were
there.
kids on 3 weeks ago.
They're there. They're
Yeah.
using the one piece. There's a piece, a box, and a rail still there. So it's kind of got like that run
Right.
of the couple items.
Okay, next question.
So going, are you done with
Banu.
page 7? Lauren?
Lauren, are you done with page 7?
Oh, yes, sorry.
Okay,
Okay, Banu.
page 8, I just wanted to know, what is the rental Board of Ed facility use, 500?
So to be quite honest, they haven't charged us that in a really long time. They keep telling us that they might have to based on custodians get overtime. They haven't done it yet, charged us, but they keep telling me it might happen, it might happen. So the $500 is really for our dance. And that would be the fee if we needed to rent it and they charged us.
Fair enough.
I think let's take it out.
Nope. What happens
They charge
Well,
us
actually-
It'll be the year they charge me.
if, this year actually,
Argue that, no.
with less events, potentially.
Anyone else have comments about that?
No.
Okay, any other, next question.
So we're leaving that in, okay.
Next question.
So can we move on to capital?
Wait a minute, hold on, Julie, you had a question?
I was going to ask if we were moving on to capital.
We're moving on to capital.
So, a big item this year was the skate park. I sent you guys an email with the new design that I was sent today. We've been having some really good meetings with the skater community regarding what we want to do with the space. The skater community is 100% for sharing that facility with the town. They don't want to make it just a skate park, they want to share it. So I thought that was really good. There were like kids, moms, bikes, scooters, BMX, skateboards, you name it, they want to go for it. So I sent you guys kind of a diagram. They call it a skate community plaza.
Awesome.
So the skate plaza would be something that would be the center of town.
Today.
Because we're trying to build it up. It's kind of like the last piece of the puzzle. And it's unsightly at the moment, which we all know, we've seen it. Right now there's, we've kind of done well with the area with getting the unsafe things out, but potentially it could become unsafe again. It's for everybody, like I said, kids, adults, moms, strollers. We can build the area up as time goes on, gazebos, picnic tables, park benches. It's shovel ready, so as you can see, they could be ready to put this in tomorrow. This could be our future tomorrow in a couple phases, however you guys see fit. We're beautifying that area, so key is Roosevelt Commons Beautification Project. This is the last piece to it. eat your lunch there, farmers markets, concerts, common gatherings there, any additional programming. So it's a multi-use area. And it's also an open space green plan. I'm gonna give you an estimated amount for this. All of these diagrams have been done free of charge. We could have been spending thousands and thousands of dollars, but working with Squam Ranch, they have totally done this for free. He's done everything, come to every meeting and asked for everything we've ever wanted. This was done by your skater community. This was done by your council members that went. Adam and Dan, Mark have been involved in making a space that's great. This particular skate park is going to range between $375,000 to $425,000. I suggest, obviously it's a big amount of money, we do it in phases. And we allocate money each year to make this project happen.
So, first, go ahead, Jeff.
Just, is this, are you envisioning putting this where the current skate park is?
Right.
So,
it'll be dug up. Yeah.
Here's the thing. Right near there is a historic monument, which the Historic Preservation Commission is working on restoring. In 2028 is the 100th anniversary of that. They've also discovered that the land around it was done by one of the first women who was a landscape architect in our country's history. There's a good chance that that may end up being designated as state historic property. So I don't know that at this point it's prudent that close to that monument to be going forward with a big thing without at least talking to the Historic Preservation Commission to see how it fits in with the overall plans for that area. You're saying this will improve the Roosevelt Commons, but you know, when the park was put in, didn't necessarily improve the Roosevelt Commons. And so I think there should be a larger discussion before, $375,000 to $400,000 when they may be putting in some money to the overall green space, and now we'll have two totally different plans without communication. That's a problem.
So, are they looking to build where the skate park is?
I didn't say that, but they are looking at the whole space. And I know that since I'm the liaison to that, there's been nothing discussed with them yet. So I would suggest before this kind of a huge ask for that area, that discussion should take place.
Dan?
Not that I want to really put stuff off forever and ever, but I think that's a really important discussion.
Okay, and I think the way they did this was really tasteful. They added flowers, the foliage.
That's not the point.
They really wanted to blend. And
That's not the point. I get that. But this is part of a larger nationally recognized historic site. And so to say this looks nice, if it doesn't fit in historically, that actually ends up potentially being a big problem.
Dan?
So just like all the other projects we're having, this has to be.
I can't hear Dan.
This is a great like it looks cool. It's a good idea conceptually. All the features are there for a skater. I would skate there. But to Jeff's point is, instead of looking at just this grid, this square in the grid, you got to look at the whole thing and plan a whole project. Because if we're going plaza, do the whole plaza, the whole area, including the pond. There's a pathway around that tennis court no one uses.
Lauren, are you done?
There's a pathway around the tennis court.
Yes.
It's awesome, but never anyone will.
Right.
You and I spoke about this like 2 years ago, and I loved the idea of renovating this area, center of town. And I think he's listened to a lot of the comments, and he's gone back. And this design is a much more, I think, in touch design with our goals, making a more community space and more green space and things. Unfortunately, the price tag is a lot higher, I think, than a lot of us had anticipated. I would be very willing to do this in the phases. I would be very willing to work with whatever landscape thing that HPC wants to do and try to blend it maybe into the next thing. You know, the other option is this a plan that you would envision somewhere else in town? Is there anywhere else you want to put this? So that's just a secondary thought. Look, I love this idea very much. I put this idea of renovating the skate park in the center of town and beautifying it. So thank you for giving us a plan. I think that really does accomplish that. You know, just unfortunately, our budget is insanely tight this year.
Adam?
Yeah, I didn't, so this, I think this is great. This is definitely needed. I don't want this anywhere else but here, in the sense that you do have this center of town. Just about anyone I ask, it's not even unsightly, which it is unsightly. It's actually dangerous. I'm told by police officials that it is not the safest place to be. So I definitely think that we do have to redo it. I do agree with, I think Councilman Grossman brings up a good point that I think it should be part of, that whole area in Councilman Park, we should look at it. I would love a report back from the HPC on, you know, the pace at which we're moving these things. I do know, you know, $300,000 spread over 3 years. I mean, we already have locked down $150,000 for a monument, which I don't know when we're moving on. Another $75,000 on top of that for the ordinances. I would love just to see a timeline for when we can move forward. And then also what the council's recommendation. So I think Jamie's done a great job on getting a proposal. What's the council's recommendation on, okay, then should we put money into a proposal for this broader piece? How are we moving this forward?
So if I can interject here for a second, it sounds like no one's saying no, but they're not saying yes yet, because there's not enough information. And we need to have extensive discussion with HPC, and anyone's welcome to correct me if I'm wrong, but this, I think it's clear that it's not going in this year's budget, right? And so I think if you start doing the homework with HPC, what does the area look like? Pull out some old Frederick Law Olmsted survey maps and see what we can do over there.
Yeah, so then let me propose a counter that. I do think we have, if we just leave it like that, nothing's going to happen this year.
Well, so the council's welcome to pick dates and deadlines and when you want meetings to start?
So then let's put something in the budget for the plan to look at this area. This is a big area that we need a plan for. Is that, I don't know if that's within the existing $225,000.
Go ahead, Jeff, please.
So let me suggest, at the very least, getting you into conversations with HPC. Unfortunately, I can't say at their next meeting because we don't know with the current state of things when.
One topic at a time, right?
But the next meeting that they hold, I will let you know, and we can get that discussion going. I don't know that, because they're in the process of considering applying for state recognition as a historic site. The reason for doing that is to be able to get certain historic grants for that, to make it easier to get money.
Correct.
And so to put money in now without knowing that process.
What's your sense of how long this area of need, we say that a lot now, this area of need, how long do you see this taking before someone is proud to walk around Roosevelt Commons?
I would see that realistically, no matter what happens, about a year and a half. I'm being realistic.
No, I think you're understating it.
I think I am too, because they got a grant for.
So we're just good.
They got a matching
center
grant.
town.
They got a matching grant for the monument. There's $125,000, and even with the grant, it's a whole process just to be able to hire the architect who's going to actually do the work, which will be done this summer.
So go ahead, I'm sorry, Dan, go ahead.
And there was for fixing up the pathway,
Should be hand up
right?
for now? Sorry.
There was
As I
a,
said, $75,000. So $150,000 for the monument and an additional
No.
$75,000 for the walkway.
no, I said 125 for the monument.
That's great. So it's
Six-
another $25,000.
It was 67,500 from the county and 67,500, I believe, from us.
We have $150,000 in the ordinance for monument restoration.
That includes lights and pathway?
That's lights too.
I don't think so. I want to say that I spoke to someone and there was a big to-do because we forgot a plan for the lightings.
That's correct.
Go ahead, Lizette, please.
No, what had happened was, as far as the Bergen County open space, historic, et cetera, they were fine with the grant application as submitted. But because it's a monument, it required, for the county, for the monument, it requires approval from the state, SHPO, and it's the state that is requiring SHPO, State Historic Preservation Office. And the state is requiring this lighting feature, so it's not that something was forgotten in the grant, is to get this approval before submitting RFQs, or reaching out to vendors or anything. The state is saying, well, you need a lighting plan, so that's that was that hiccup there. But it's not so much a hiccup, it's the state saying, well, if you want our approval and you need our approval to proceed, you now have to do X. And that wasn't required by the county program to release, to qualify for the grant.
I didn't say anything.
Jamie wasn't saying anything.
So I guess, so my question to the council is, so this is going to be a few years at best. Does the council believe we should do anything in this area, central to the town, not that great with safety? Is there something we should do over the next couple of years before, obviously I want it to be consistent, but before we get to where we really aspire to go to?
Vanu?
I think
Adam was asking, whether the waiting the 2 years is something we're willing to do, or do we want to move at a more accelerated pace than that? And Vanu goes next.
I think what we're, there are a number of centers of town. There's not just one center of town, so, we want to beautify every part of town, there's no doubt. But we do have our priorities and limited by the funds that we have available to us. We're looking into the downtown, and I think that will be a big ask, in going forward. I think for the skate park, I'd like to suggest that maybe we don't necessarily look at it this year. We try to get our ducks in a row, and then propose it for next year if that's.
So just really quickly, what's good about this is we came in originally with a skate park. I have applied for skate park grants. There's no way that this town will get them. I've even discussed it with the designer, and he said we will not get them. We have created something that is possible for grants. So we
What
have
type of grant? What's the name of the grant?
We could, now it's open. It's an open space green area, so it's kind of all the beautification you're doing. You have created opportunities for grants.
Dan?
So to combine everyone's thought, we should work on, so to Jeff's point, historic is going to go up to this. This is going to be, this line right here is going to be historic. This skate park, this triangle-shaped skate park, needs only this much space out of the tennis court that it's in the footprint that it's in. The rest of that property can be this. We need this for the whole park. We need a design, a concept, something to run our imaginations.
Yes.
Yeah, Dan is suggesting we need a overall design for the entire Roosevelt area Monument Park, that whole section. Yes, Jeff?
So to Councilman Michael's point, which I agree with, we can't put this off forever. And the reason that I'm trying to come up with a shorter time frame is the faster we get them talking, the faster we come up with a plan. I think it needs to be, though, comprehensive. I truly believe that. I do not want to do this here, mishmash, something else, and Councilman Park has stated it better than I could. So I would recommend that by the time we get to this time next year, we will be able to have a budget for a plan that's more comprehensive.
I thought you were saying something different, which I was supportive of, which is let's get a plan such that we know that this piece of it we could possibly do something with. I'm not saying put the $100,000 in to do the first part, maybe.
No. He's saying the same thing.
Well, I think
Well, I'm
we
not
need-
putting money in
I
this
think
year.
I'd put money in for a plan this year.
I'm with him.
Yeah.
Sorry.
We have 9 months, guys.
Can I go?
Go ahead, go ahead. Go ahead, Lauren.
Okay.
That's me.
Well, I would fund this plan. We cannot continue to have this eyesore in the center of our town. So I fund it, but I would fund it in a way that makes sense, that we will continue to grow the landscape with it to make a more seamless thing. But I don't, Jeff, I understand what you're saying, but I don't think putting this in the location in which it exists now would deter any development of any landscape design going forward. This is open, no fences, good eyesight, good plants in it. I mean, I don't like the orange flowers, but it's green. You know, there's plants and flowers. It's a better use of space for the middle school. It's a better eyesight from the road. You know, I don't see this plan as a detriment to building a bigger, more comprehensive plan going forward. So I agree with Adam. I would fund this. I'm not gonna have to fund it as long as it's paid.
Well, I would, right, so I think it's actually even easier in the sense of, it's not OpEx, it's not CapEx. I would say this is, I mean, is there anything more open space in a park?
Okay, so I have a go ahead, Dan. No,
What do you
please.
qualify for?
That was going to be my question, and perhaps there is the,
Overall qualify for open space.
That's a question for Bill, because you have to look at the way the statute is written.
Ours?
No, it's not the state statute of open space trust funds. Like, in order,
That's our ordinance.
No, no,
We
no.
just have to figure out what the state
State
ordinance
statute.
is for what an open space is.
yeah, I mean, it's a,
Were we trying for a separate grant with this and not eligible? Like, how does it work?
no, so wait a minute, the first question on the floor is, for planning purposes, could you use open space money? And remember that it's called the Open Space Recreation and Historic Preservation Trust Fund. It's not just the Open Space Fund, and I'm not an attorney, Lizette is correct, it has to be confirmed by Bill, but my understanding is, if, because haven't we used this money for turf fields in the past? Right, so.
Not the study, that was the whole project. This is
Correct,
just
so the
study.
question is, the study part of it is the open-ended question, because that, if the council agreed to do that, that would resolve the issue of, we don't even need to put money in the budget if it's available from another trust fund anytime the council chooses to appropriate it.
What's the cost of the study?
We do it partial?
So we can't answer, so the question, there's a whole bunch of questions we can't answer. The first question is, what does anything cost? Because we haven't even had the initial conversations of what even a remote concept of a design would cost, right? And so then, once that sort of agreement comes together with the Historic Preservation Group, then we would bring an engineer in to give us an estimate of what it would cost to put this together, right? So we have to do those 2 steps, and I think we need to confirm with Bill tomorrow what the story is in terms of using the trust fund money to pay for the planning here. And then that, Lauren, to your point, then long after that, it goes down the road of, do you get grants, and how does all that work is another story. That's how I would recommend it to do it in order to get it done. Does that make sense to everyone?
So,
Pull the table?
so, Mayor, your recommendation is, I just want to make sure, because I'm hearing different things.
Yes.
Putting money in for this project, or putting money in this year to come up with an overall comprehensive plan? Because it's really 2 different things I'm hearing.
Right, so the question of the money is, we can't, in other words, yeah,
All right. So I'm hearing some people say, look, this, and Councilwoman Dayton, for example, saying, this is a nice park, we need this, let's do this. And I'm hearing, or at least I'm suggesting, that money be used to come up with a more comprehensive plan, rather than designated for this particular design at this moment.
Correct. Okay, I'm with you.
That's
yeah,
what I-
Councilman
you can look at it
Grossman
that.
was saying that he wants to put in money to come up with a plan that's more comprehensive rather than proceed with the project specific to the skate park this year.
Okay, so, hold on, let me speak. The question on the table is whether the council wants to put money in to do a plan this year for planning purposes, not the project itself.
I'm usually really supportive of that, Lauren.
Yeah.
And you know I am. The concern I have, I'm just trying to be efficient. So I definitely think we need a plan. I think it's gonna take time to work with HPC. I just don't know if it's.
Planning this for like a year now. I mean, what are we looking at? It's not a plan and a sketch.
Well, because the council here is suggesting that they want a plan designed with the HPC so that the entire Roosevelt Commons is designed in one fell swoop and all works together and flows together. Go ahead, Julie.
And also to that point was Jeff's point regarding if it's combined with the monument is theoretically, we'd have the option of getting grants that might cover part of this project. So I don't see how you can just start spending money on a project, especially if we can get money for it, combining it with the preservation.
Okay, so let's go around the table. Let's go,
So, just to clarify.
one last question, then we're going to go around the
This is no
table.
longer a skate park, it's a Roosevelt Commons project.
Right. Okay, so the question around the table is this a Roosevelt Commons project or is it a skate park? Dan?
Roosevelt Commons.
Jeff?
Roosevelt Commons.
Vanu?
I actually, the Roosevelt Commons.
Julie?
It's a Roosevelt Commons project, but with the caveat that whatever we're talking about is just for a study.
Adam? Lauren? Okay, so we've got a 5-1. We're going for a Roosevelt Commons project. Now the question becomes, does the council want to fund it this year? So it's yes or
We'll
no.
do the first thing on a study first.
I meant, excuse me, I meant to fund a study. Dan?
We have to wait for Bill's answer if we can use open space.
Jeff?
I agree with Councilman Park.
Vanu?
Yeah, I agree.
Julie?
He's saying that we'd have to wait for an answer from Bill to see if we could use open space funds to fund a study.
Okay, Julie, let me address the question. Hold on. Julie?
My caveat would be is if we do a study, we'd have to have a top line of how the study cannot exceed $20,000.
So that's, yes, you'd fund it. We're going to get, hold on a second, Lauren. Adam? Yes. Okay, so the question, Lauren, and it seems to be everyone's willing to fund the study, funding the study for the Roosevelt Commons Park.
Yes.
That is I've got 5 yeses
Up
here.
until a certain amount.
We don't know.
Okay, so that's the next question. So,
$50,000 is what we see, I'm just using that as an example of what we got to do the downtown. As I best understand it, if we go under, we could use it for something else.
Where would we get that estimate from? Engineering?
those estimates would come from engineers.
Okay.
That's how,
Let's get that first.
Let's try to get that before the next budget meeting, I think, in a couple Mondays from now.
okay, so,
Is on
Oh, it is.
Monday,
so Susan,
Next Monday?
this Monday.
Susan, we've agreed it's a Roosevelt Common Park. We've agreed to fund the study, and now we have to have a conversation tomorrow with the engineer about the money, then we revisit this. And then we're also going to ask the question about the open space funding, the open space being able to pay for the study.
Okay, so is that, are you gonna call Bill?
I'm going to email him now.
Yeah.
Okay, and the engineers
I'm
have any-
I'm gonna email Andy.
Okay, so
Okay.
make a note
Okay?
And I think there's a third question to go around. If we can make open space money, which doesn't hit our CapEx or our OpEx, I would feel comfortable putting $100,000 into the budget, that if we have time, if we could get the project turned around, we could start working on it next year. And it doesn't have any impact to our OpEx or our CapEx.
So,
It's open space.
so if it's open space, you can have that conversation anytime, during the
Okay,
budget
perfect.
period, after budget period. That is how open space gets appropriated.
Great.
Do you have any other comments for us? Because we're way behind schedule now.
I'd like to ask about a different project.
Go ahead. Wait a minute, hold, Julie has the floor. Okay.
So my question is regarding the Walnut Park playground equipment. So I have 175,000. Is that not under recreation?
Yeah.
There is something here that says Walnut Park playground equipment for $175,000.
I think, Susan, you reallocated that, right, to DPW.
Right.
I don't do the playgrounds. The playgrounds are done by the DPW.
That got put into
Okay,
open
so
space.
I probably put it there because I thought it was supposed to go there. So that
No,
goes
still on
to
budget.
DPW, I guess. And then I think did we decide if that was going open space?
No, that's what I'd like to discuss.
Okay, because I don't have it checked off.
Okay, so,
So it's not.
so I'm not going to talk to her about it.
it's not
Okay. but-
being
No, it's not for Jamie.
planned out.
Next question.
For what?
For the last two items. After Jamie.
Well, Sunnyside renovation wasn't a DPW.
That's her.
What?
Okay, let's stay focused on the recreation. Regardless of that answer, it has nothing to do with rec. Go ahead, Julie, do you have another question?
No, the way it's looking on the budget is the sunny side is $30,000 as field renovations. That's out of open space. I have no problem with that. But I just thought that the
Are these
Walnut
public
Park
works
was, I
questions
guess
or
that's.
Recreation questions.
Not, okay, the Sunnyside Field renovation was not a public works project. The one I can tell you about the Walnut Park, we solicited a grant, we received a $75,000 award. So, but the whole project construction is 150. You have to account for bid design, inspection, all the professional costs. So that's why it's 175, because you have to budget the all-in number, because the grant, then you have to submit receipts to the county, and then the county will refund up to 75,000. Sometimes what they do is they could give money back towards professional fees, but they don't do it every time. But they always give back 50% of the construction. So whatever, if you have it in, so when you receive the grant will go to pay down debt, but you have to fund the entire project.
I would propose we don't use open space for that project.
Yes.
For Sunnyside?
For
Walnut
Walnut Park.
I have no problem with Sunnyside.
So you're gonna go, I'm gonna need, just so you know, I'm gonna need to put more money in capital.
Cap.
In
What?
capital improvement fund, in the operating budget.
What?
Julie said that she does not want to put more money in, she doesn't want to put the 175 in open space. It'll have to go into the regular capital plan, but the 30,000 she's willing to put in from open space. And I said, yes.
Go ahead, Lauren.
I strongly disagree. We've been planning on Walnut Park for 2 years now. This is a additional park that is underutilized, that really needs some of the younger kids' sports, like smaller soccer fields and, baseball fields. We were giving it I believe, a bathroom facility, which it doesn't have. There's nothing close by. So
No,
it's very
she's,
difficult.
no one's saying there's a problem spending it.
Can't really hold, when you're running them into town, it's difficult. There's nowhere to sit for the parents, so we were gonna put some seating and bleachers.
It's not a matter of that.
Okay, so the question's about money, right?
Just one second, Lauren.
How to fund it.
Julie isn't
Right, out of
saying not to do it. Julie is saying she doesn't want to fund it from open space.
No, I'm getting there.
Oh, okay.
So, Julie, this is a perfect small amount project at an open space. This is silly to put capital on the open space there,
Okay, so let's poll the table. Dan, do you want to do Walnut Park? We're talking about Walnut?
Yes.
Yeah,
Do we want to do Walnut Park?
Open space?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, Jeff?
Yes.
Vanu?
Do I want to do it, or
Do you
do I
wanna
want to do it out
Okay,
of?
let's start. Do you want to do Walnut Park?
Yes.
Do you want to do it out of open space?
No.
Julie?
Not out of open space. But can
Ah.
I also say my reasons?
No. It's okay. We're voting now.
Yes and yes.
Uh,
Open space.
Okay.
Lauren? Do you want to
She
do?
said she wants both.
Okay, so there we have it.
I do want to just, I want to make a note here, I want to make a note, that the open space, I understand that one of its, talking Lauren, one of its reasons is recreation, or one of its purposes, or
It's yes.
Yeah.
one of the purposes of open space funds is is equipment and things like that for parks, but I am really quite concerned with how much money we are pulling from this fund that has to also be available should land preservation opportunities arise, or that we should seek them out.
Any other questions?
That's open space too.
Did we?
I had no issue with that.
So Sunnyside's coming out of open space. It sounds like everyone agrees with that?
Yeah.
Okay. Next?
From playground, okay.
No more questions?
Take out the golf cart. Did we get one last year? No.
The golf cart's already been taken out. Any other questions?
Oh, they, offline.
Susan?
No, I don't think I have any other questions.
Okay. Do you have more?
Okay, she wants to, Jamie would like to go over the salary.
One question about salaries.
Go right ahead.
Um,
Is Mark here?
I have no idea.
We now, right now, Carol and myself, somehow we have the message board, the borough message board, we've been kind of in charge of. Way back, the message board had a stipend of $5,000. Somehow the stipend didn't transfer over the years. So ever since the new message board came, it became under our wing. Carol and I do maintenance the board, over 300 messages a year. I do troubleshooting. I did the training on the board. We monitor the board day and night. We do it on our off hours. So my question is there any way to get the stipend back in any increment?
Okay, so that's a little bit of a question that. The question is, there used to be a stipend for taking care of the maintenance board that's on the corner of River Edge and Tenafly Road. The stipend disappeared, and Jamie is asking if the stipend could be put back in there for her and Carol.
How much was the stipend? I'm sorry.
So Lizette, you want to?
It was 5,000 when Tim was here.
That was before I was even here.
Yeah.
So I'm not sure if anyone has even,
And then,
so that was here before you were here?
yeah.
Before I was here.
So,
And then Carol took it over.
And this is for the
She's like, I
message
never
board.
got
The
the
message
stipend.
board.
We
To
kinda
update?
let it go. We got the new message board, and I said, do you want me to mention the stipend, since we do spend a lot of time on it,
Valerie
and
used
we
to
monitor it, the
put in, but
police
she doesn't
currently,
have
we have to monitor the brightness. Sometimes I have to stay and make sure, like, there's no accidents on the corner and stuff like that. So we're monitoring it,
okay,
on our off hours.
so how does the council want to address this question? Do we need to take it offline?
I think
For
take it
further? I think we do, just because it's kind of a
Brand new.
very valid question, but a brand-new one.
Yeah, that's basically, that was my question regarding the salaries.
Okay,
Thank you for everything.
thank you.
Good stuff.
Thank
Enjoy the
you.
park.
Okay,
Thanks, guys, I appreciate it.
have a good night.
Roosevelt Commons all the way.
Spent a lot of time.
That is a cool design, though. It's a cool design.
Yes, but
He really was.
so youth services coming.
Do we know if
Everybody has
Mark's
to
gonna be
call,
here for
if
youth
not,
service?
He's
Do you want me
outside.
to go get him on my way out?
Where is it?
He's outside.
Oh, he's
Oh, he
well,
is
because
here.
he was working, so.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Thank you.
So everyone
Thank
just
you.
called.
Thank you. I
What seasons you need to go kart? If we can jump on a shared services with
So,
the
to
county.
be quite honest, I really need the golf cart to groom the turf field, because apparently our groomer, the tires aren't the right tires to be driving over the turf. So I really need to groom the field, but then I can use it for lunch hours.
Like community day use.
Community night, summer camp.
Is it just a regular golf cart?
I was asking for like a used one.
No, but I would love to try to take a shot at speaking to whether it be Montana or Alpine. They have about 8